welcome to the 438th episode of the Random Podcast from Heck. My name is Tony, and this is the podcast about random things in the world of entertainment, which includes movies, TV shows, and comic books. Big shout out to Andrew Loken. He is an awesome supporter of the show. You can be an awesome supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the Secret Podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30-ish minutes of extra podcast entertainment every single week. I sometimes do off-my-mind topics about different things, and they tend to often be Back to the Future related, time travel related. But lately I've been doing some Silver Age, DC Comics Silver Age books. Basically the comic books with the really weird, bizarre covers where like Batman or Superman is killing someone or just something really drastic happening, something absurd. And then a lot of times it's explained or whatever. So we're probably going to do that again this week. I've done a Superboy and a Batman, a Detective Comics one, like a Detective Comics where Batman apparently killed Robin. There's a Superboy comic where all of Smallville hated Superboy and they kicked him out. They wanted nothing to do with him. So I think this week we're probably going to go with maybe I think I'm going to do I could do a Jimmy Olsen comic, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. There's a lot of really interesting comics there. But if you can't commit to a monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck, and you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or 4. That's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. What is happening on this week's show? Oh my goodness, this has not been a good week for movies. So last week I mentioned, I don't know what movie I'm going to see. I don't know if I'm going to see Return to Silent Hill or Mercy. So Mercy is a movie with Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson. And it's where he's like a cop in the future. He's accused of killing his wife. He has 90 minutes to prove his innocence to an AI judge. And I believe the AI judge is Rebecca Ferguson. The only thing that could make this interesting is if that 90 minutes is like real time, like 24 style or whatever. But it's Chris Pratt. I mean, no offense, Chris, if you're listening, but I don't know. We've got Chris Pratt in the news coming up. The other option was Return to Silent Hill. And it's like my theater, I don't even know if they're showing it this weekend. I did see Return to Silent Hill. I went to a different theater because, I usually go to Thursday nights, and so we have that. How was that? Neither one of these movies have good Rotten Tomato scores, but you can hear about Silent Hill. Now, I did recently rewatch the first Silent Hill movie. Was it 2006? Because I'd seen it. I didn't see it in 2006. I saw it. I think I saw it for the first time in the last 5 years or so. I don't remember when it was. It all just melds together. But it wasn't streaming anywhere, so it's like, all right, I'll buy it. Get excited for Return to Silent Hill. The trailer looks good. And I'll say right now, the movie. There's stuff to talk about the movie. As far as TV shows, we are finally starting Hijack Season 2, the Idris Elba show. And I'll tell you, man, that first episode, this is why week by week is the best. Because after I watched that first episode, I was like, what? And my voice today got like, I was like, what the heck? And I immediately wanted to watch a second. I mean, I could have watched a second episode of that because I am a week behind. But I haven't watched it yet because I don't have time. That's the thing, because immediately what I do, I text my buddy. He's like, hey, that episode, what? And that's the thing, because with when you have the option of just immediately, before the credits are even over, like Netflix a lot of times, like 10 second, boom, you don't even have time to process this big crazy ending cliffhanger thing. It's just like, oh, it's just that. Okay, all right. So I do think there's something about the week by week. And we'll talk about that because, like with Fallout, I mentioned how people are complaining about that. So we have Hijack, we have Fallout, and that's it. And then we got comic books and the news. Next week we'll have Wonder Man. So with the news, I guess we'll start with that with Fallout. So I had mentioned where I saw, I don't know, I think there, I don't remember now. You may remember if you, since I just said it, but I think it was that I don't remember if this was an official thing or people were saying how like Fallout Season 2 wasn't doing as well as Fallout Season 1, which is weird if that's the case. And then I was reading all the comments because the first season they dropped them all at once. This season they're doing them week by week, and they only dropped one episode the first week, which I was like, thank you so much. Even though I'm still like a week behind, like half a week or whatever, a week and a half. Or I when I was reading the comments, it might have been like an IGN post on Facebook or something like that, like suggested post or whatever. And all these people are like, yeah, I'm not watching it. I'm waiting until all the episodes drop so I can watch it all. And it's so weird. I don't know if I talked about this, but it's so weird that there's so many people were just so pro binging. And it's like the idea, and I don't know if just people just being extreme or whatever, but they're like, yeah, I'm not going to watch it until all episodes available. It's like, why should I do that? Maybe because it's a good show and you're excited and you want to watch it. I mean, why? I just don't. And some people are like, yeah, that's how we used to do it. They're like, okay, grandma, okay, or grandpa, okay, boomer, or whatever. And it's just weird to think that it wasn't that long ago where we watched network television. And you know, back then we had these like 20, 22, 24 episode seasons, and you had to wait week by week. Sometimes they would do like a 2-hour season finale or something like that. But you watched one episode and you had to wait a week. But now some people are just spoiled, and it's like they feel like they're entitled to get the whole show at once. And what I don't understand is you're just going to blow through it, and then that's it. It's gone. You're going to forget about it. And then if there is another season or anything like that, you have to wait it's not just waiting from May to September, October. No, a lot of times you have to wait a year plus for the next season. So you're gonna like blow through it all in like one day or one weekend or whatever, and then have to wait longer versus let's let it expand, have time to digest. I shouldn't go into, because I've gone through this so many times. What I'm getting at is I just saw that the report was saying that Fallout Season 2 is like Prime's top performing show since Reacher Season 3, because you know Reacher's been doing really well. Maybe it just means nothing else. Prime doesn't have anything else, whatever. But no, people are watching it. This is their highest viewed show right now, and so all these people are saying, "I'm not going to watch it." It's like, well, someone's watching. Are you really not watching, or are you just saying that because it's cool not to watch it week by week? I don't know. But and then obviously, as you probably know, I didn't cover all of Fallout Season 1 because they dropped it all at once. And I'm like, okay, if you're going to binge it, you don't want to hear about the show, 7 weeks later. When you don't even remember what happened. So congrats to Fallout, I guess. I don't know. There was, the other thing, Masters of the Universe trailer dropped. And it seems like people are excited about that, which is great. My buddy is really excited, and I was like, I watched it. It looks good. I feel like it's almost there, and I'm in the minority, but I feel like it's not quite. I don't want to say perfection, but it feels like there's like just something. It's like, is it trying to be cheesy, nostalgic, or is it trying to be serious? Because it in a lot of ways it looks pretty serious. Or they're not trying to be goofy, campy, or anything like that. But I don't know. So I mean, the first thing is Skeletor. A lot of people seem like, oh, Skeletor looks great. It looks accurate and all this. It does look a little cheesy, but it has to, and that's why a lot of times in movies you can't have like costume accurate or comic accurate costumes. That's why the X-Men movies, they wore black leather rather than their colorful costumes, even though now, all these years later, 20-something years later, Wolverine can wear a yellow costume and look cool. Versus back in like 2000, they're like, yeah, we can't do that. He's going to look like a giant banana or something. So I feel like that's one of the things. So where you look at Skeletor, he looks a little cheesy, but he looks accurate. So that's where the trade-off is. The weird thing I find is that Prince Adam was sent to Earth, for his safety or whatever. And yes, there is an Earth aspect to the show. I think, I could be wrong, isn't like He-Man's mom from Earth? Wasn't she like an astronaut or something? Am I totally wrong? Crazy? But the thing is, He-Man is on Eternia. And you're having him sent to Earth. I was like, what is he, Baby Kal-El? Was he sent in a rocket? Was he sent with a baby dog or baby Cringer? But then we see him, he's like working in a cubicle, and he has like a pink shirt because Prince Adam wore pink. So I don't know. But he's having dreams or visions of the sword, and it's just weird that, I don't know. But whatever, it looks good. I'm just being nitpicking. But Jared Leto's Skeletor, he looks good. I've seen a lot of people are concerned about that because let's look at Jared Leto, Joker. Not that well received. Jared Leto, Morbius. It's Morbin time. Not well received. Jared Leto, Aries. There he is. Tron Aries. Not well received. It's not all on his fault, or it's not on his shoulders or whatever I'm trying to say. But those movies that he's been in haven't done well. We'll see how it is. And we got Camila Mendes, who I'm a fan of hers. Obviously Riverdale. I dig that show. I still haven't. I need to finish watching that someday. I did get to sit at a table with her during season 1 in a press room, and she was very, very delightful. And I adore that cast. I feel like they had so much fun doing that weird and bizarre show. The show got so crazy, and I'm curious. I'm really curious to see how she does, because she did work out. She's not going to be. But I guess if you look at it, it's not like Tila in that original anime. She wasn't like muscle bound, female muscle bound She-Hulk or whatever like that. But you can see that Camilla, her arms, she did get some definition in there. Not saying that she wasn't before, and then she reddened her hair a bit. So we'll see. I approve of that. I'm really curious to see how that's going to be. There was a little sort of teaser. Jason Momoa. It's like, you see a Supergirl trailer, Jason Momoa, Lobo, and he walks out. Here comes Jason Momoa walking out. Oh, he's so cool. He's got the cigar. And then someone's like, how's it feel playing Lobo? Or what do you have to say about playing Lobo? And he's like, finally. And he gets in his car, drives off. I don't know. We'll see. And I think part of the thing, I'm excited to see, an accurate, I'm assuming accurate take on Lobo. I've mentioned this before. I just got so burnt out on Lobo. I thought maybe I was young. I remember reading the early, not the early ones, but just Lobo, it's like, oh, he's cool. He's got sleeveless leather, or not leather, just vests, and he's got the chains, and he's got his space motorcycle, and all right, I just got interrupted. I was talking about Lobo, right? And I just think, he was really cool and all that, but then it was overused. And then after a while, it's like, oh, Bastage, or how he's supposed to be the toughest guy in the galaxy. He's so tough that heaven and hell don't want anything to do with him because he kills everyone or whatever like that. So they're going to make him immortal because they don't want to have him in the afterlife. It's like, whatever. So we'll see how it goes. And it's also interesting because Lobo wasn't in this story that it's based off. Woman of Tomorrow order. So they just wanted to squeeze him in there, and I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, we got that to look forward to. Let's go Chris Pratt, since I mentioned him earlier. So Chris Pratt has been talking about a bunch of stuff, and a lot of it is about Star-Lord. They're like, are you going to play Star-Lord? When are you going to play Star-Lord and everything like that? So he's not going to, I think it was he's not in Doomsday because he was doing his Amazon show, season 2. I forgot what that show's called because I didn't watch the first season. Terminal List, I think that's it, pretty sure. But he was saying he seems very excited, like he is down. He wants to do more Star-Lord, which is great. I can appreciate when actors can give the fandom what they want and not be like, okay, yeah, I'm done with this. Or maybe it's just like, yeah, I want to do more Marvel movies because it's a nice paycheck. I don't know. But he's saying that apparently he has some ideas, and he said that he pitched his idea to Kevin or whatever. But he also said that like he's down to do anything. He's ready to flesh things out for the next 10 years or whatever. But then he's like, yeah, it'd be great. It'd be a dream if like James Gunn could direct it. But that can't happen with him, in charge of DC. So then he's like, well, I'd have to think about, who the director could be. There's a lot of good directors out there. And it's just like, dude, you're just you're just an actor. I mean, no offense, but it's not like someone can be like, yeah, I want to do this movie, but I want Martin Scorsese to direct it. Otherwise, let's forget it. That's not going to happen. Maybe he's at a point where he can be like, yeah, I want to be a producer and I want to have some behind the scenes, whatever say and stuff. There's that. But then if he has a say in a director and then the director's like, okay, we're going to do this, is there going to be like a struggle for power where Chris Pratt's like, you know what? Actually, I had this idea. I think we should do this. And the director's like, no, we're doing this. This is the way the script is played. Maybe like the director wrote the script, rewrote the script, whatever. So is there going to be like a power thing? I don't know. We'll see. And then there's like some other interview where he's like, well, yeah. It's like, I promise you, the legendary Star-Lord will return. And I don't know if this whole legendary Star-Lord thing, if that's it's a play, there was a comic series called that, and not Chris Pratt, but Star-Lord would be like egotistical enough to refer to himself as a legendary Star-Lord, or is that just Chris Pratt embracing it because he feels that it's a legendary character? I don't know. He also said that he would love to do a Jurassic World movie with Scarlett Johansson because he says, he has a lot of respect for her or something like that, and it would be cool to, bring everything together between the two movies. But it's also probably like, my current movie is not doing so well. Maybe we need to bring, maybe I need some Scarlett Johansson power to, help out. I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, I do agree. He's done what, two movies, and so yeah. I do think it's weird. He's done 2, then all of a sudden it jumps to Scarlett Johansson. I enjoyed the story, the Scarlett Johansson angle of that. So yeah, it would be interesting. Like, okay, let's merge these two. They're both existing now in this post Jurassic Park world or whatever you want to call it. Let's bring them together and see, what's next. Come up with some sort of idea. And again, you got these 2 big stars. People are going to want to see it. So that's almost like a no-brainer. They should make that happen. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I mentioned there was a low score. Mercy has a 21% on Rotten Tomato. That actually currently 21% as I record this. It was first I think it was like at a 22%. It went down. 21% critics. That's based off of like 100 and something reviews. 80% audience score, and it's still early in the weekend, so that could change. So 80%. I mean that the audience. I always say it's the audience score is important. It's hard to judge. How. What's the guarantee? I don't know how they do these verified ratings because I have added ratings. I have a Rotten Tomato account. I don't do reviews, and I don't rate everything. But I have rated stuff. But is it a verified rating because I have an account and I'm in good standing and I'm not just all of a sudden, review bombing stuff? I don't know how it's verified and how they know that this 100+ people who reviewed Mercy, how do you know they actually watched it? So I don't know, but 21%, that's not good. Speaking of Rotten Tomato, Wonder Man the Rotten Tomatoes score has come up. I don't know how many episodes that's based off of, because usually in the past, like maybe I'm thinking more to Netflix shows. Usually with the Netflix shows, like if it's a 6 or 8 episode season, they would let the critics have like I had like 4 episodes before, or three or 4 episodes, just to get a taste of it. So with Wonder Man, I don't know if they gave. Do I have access to Wonder Man? I haven't checked my thing. I doubt it. But right now, it is currently at a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's really good. So we have that to look forward to. And speaking of ratings and stuff like that, I did not look into it, but I saw something that the 2026 Razzie nominations have been released. And I think the focus was like Jared Leto's leading, or he's got a bunch or whatever. I hate the Razzies. I want nothing to do with it. I don't want to give them, I shouldn't even be talking about it now. But just so, I don't understand when people want to talk about, when they talk about the best and worst of the year. So we're like almost the end of January, but early, and everyone's like posting their best and worst. And I can see posting the best, but even when you're posting the best, that's the best in your opinion. And then to say, I'm going to post the worst things, it's like, do we really need to do that? Do we really need, everything is so negative as it is. Do you really need to say, this is the worst movie of the year? I thought this really sucked. All you hundreds or thousands of people that worked on this, you all did a crap job. You guys sucked. Want to you. You should be, shame on you for making this steaming pile of garbage. No one wants to hear that. And I don't, some people might be like, yeah, I want to hear that. Why? Why do we want to celebrate that something is bad? I mean, there's one thing that if someone does a bad job, they shouldn't be like let off the hook and like, okay, let's just sweep this under the rug. It's like, no, if you legit did a bad job, you dropped the ball, you need to be held accountable. But at the same time, it shouldn't be a celebration that the movie failed. That's where I don't like it. Or when you're saying an actor did a horrible job, and this, I'm going to assume an actor is not going to purposely do a horrible job. This is their profession. If they give it a half-assed performance, that's like their track record. Someone else might be like, oh yeah, we want to do this movie. What about this person? And somebody like, hey, check out this clip. They can't act, or they're very stiff, or whatever. And then they might be like, okay, yeah, let's pass on that. Who else do we got? No one's going to purposely do that. And if an actor gives a bad performance, I say, was it intentional? Not intentional on their part. Did the director say, I want you to do it this way? Because you always hear a lot of times they'll do a scene, they'll take 3 different takes or something like that. They'll try different things, and then it's the director, whoever is saying, yeah, well, let's go with this is the best performance, but maybe it wasn't. Or maybe maybe they're just whatever, and they're like, yeah, I want to go for this vibe, and it's a poor choice. So it's not always on the actor, and if the dialogue is clunky, that's not on the actor. They didn't write it. So I just don't understand when people want to just talk about bad things. So I don't know. There's a rumor about the writer for Batman Brave and the Bold. I don't remember who said this, but I saw someone saying that Christina Hodson is going to be writing it. And some people are probably, and I'm assuming some people are going to be upset because, oh, heaven forbid, it's a woman writing it, right? Christina Hodson wrote Birds of Prey and the Ezra Miller Flash movie. So some people are like leaning on that. They're like, oh, both of those movies didn't do well, so how is this going to do? I mean, I enjoyed Birds of Prey for the most part. I mean, there are some issues I had with it. I just thought Margot Robbie was great in it. And Flash was better than I thought. But a lot of people, it's because it was like the last of the old DCU whatever. So I don't know. We'll see. But James Gunn, I'm sure, is going to make good choices. So you got to have faith in that. And then, let's see, we have, there was a trailer, I should mention this earlier, Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord. So we have this Darth Maul animated, like CG animated show. It looks cool. I mean, the Star Wars shows they do a good job with their CG shows, and I like the live action too. But I know some people don't like them. But we have this trailer. It's supposed to take place, I think, right after Clone Wars. It's coming out on April 6th. So I think that was new, that we didn't realize how soon it was going to be. And I believe 2 episodes are dropping on April 6th, and it's going to be 2 episodes each week until the final 2 on Celebration Weekend or whatever, May something. So I don't know how many episodes are due to math, I guess. So we have that. And then the last bit of news is apparently, I don't really know, it's not really news, but I think Sam Raimi kind of said, yeah, I'm not directing a Spider-Man movie. It's not going to happen. He says that, he really loves the character and everything, Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst, what they did. But he's like, where they're at now, he doesn't see that as being like the vision of what Marvel is trying to do. So he doesn't think that it would really happen. Now, I don't know what that means, because I'm seeing some stuff like, Tobey Maguire in Secret Wars, maybe? I don't know. Is he going to be in there? I don't know what's going on. And it would be cool to see, like, Old Man Spider-Man or older Spider-Man, to see, what is he doing? What is that world like? And it doesn't have to fit the current, because it's a totally different thing. It's a different universe. It's going to have a different vibe. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see to find out like what is happening. But you can also, you don't have to wait so much to find out what is happening on the rest of this show, because there's plenty more. All right, there was a Speed Racer comic. So, anytime there's Speed Racer comics, I'm obviously excited. And we had, it wasn't the regular, it wasn't David Peppo's, it was Speed Racer Tales from the Road. So there's 3 different stories. I know it was Richard Ashley Hamilton wrote the first story, and Pablo Andres did the art. But then there's 2 other ones, and I didn't note who wrote and drew those. The first story, so I really like the first story. The first story it's really focused on Pops and his wife, Speed's mom. I think if I remember correctly, I think he called her Marlene, because I was thinking, is like, what is Speed Racer's mom's name? What is Pop's name? They don't really, what is Speed's name really Speed? And, I've said this before, but in the 80s, the Now Comics, who like went bankrupt or went out of business, they said that Speed Racer's name was Gregory. That's why he had the G on his shirt, even though the reason he has G on his shirt is Gogo Fumi. That's like Japanese for whatever his name. But yeah, so we see like when Marlene is pregnant, Pops is taking her to the hospital, and when she's like pregnant, he's like, call me Pops from now on. So that's when he became Pops forever. So we still don't know what his name is. So then, they have Rex. And then, you see stuff goes on, and then here comes Speed and everything like that. And then Spritle comes along, and then we see the funeral for Rex and everything like that. So it was just kind of some cool, like, behind the scenes, seeing them grow up. And, like, Rex like, I want to be a racer. I want to do that. And that. The other 2 stories, I didn't like them as much. Sorry. But the second story was about Dane Furno. And so I believe, I'm like, who the heck is Dane Furno? And it's like Dante Inferno. But I believe it's a new character written for the comic. If so, that's cool. Yes, let's do some original stuff here. Add to all this already cool pre-existing stuff. And then the third story is about Piston Powers. So I think these are just other like background stories on these other characters. And that's important, that's good, but obviously I want Speed Racer, so you got that. I should mention last week, Geiger number 20 came out last week, and I read that. This was really cool because we had the Northerner character, the guy that we've seen in Redcoat, who he's like, somehow he travels through time, like, what is this story, whatever. And then like all of a sudden, so he's had some run-ins with Redcoat, with Simon Pure. And now he has a run-in with Geiger, and this is supposed to be the future. It's like, wait, what? Why is he sent there? And when they first meet, he's like saying that he's a time traveler, and Geiger's like, okay. But then when his weapons get like teleported in from wherever they come from, because he doesn't really know. And this is where what I find interesting, and I don't know if we picked up on this before, but it's like, how does this happen? But he tells kind of his story where the world where he lived. It's like basically the South won the Civil War, so that changed everything. And then someone's like, "Hey, check out this footage of Martin Luther King giving his speech." Where in his world, I feel like I'm saying too much. In his world, Martin Luther King was killed like right away. And seeing that there's this alternate world where things could be different, then that's where he wanted to volunteer to get in. So we don't really know the whole specifics of what's happening. And then why is he in this future? And there's something else that cool appears at the end of Geiger number 20. So I enjoyed that. Unfortunately, Redcoat 16 came out this week, and I didn't read that. I thought I read everything, but I didn't read everything. I didn't read a lot. There's also Exquisite Corpses, number 9, that came out. I didn't read that because I know I'm behind. I'm pretty sure I didn't read 8, and I don't know if I've read 7. But Exquisite Corpses, I think, has been optioned. See, that's the thing. I don't see any news about this. Maybe I'm not looking at the right places. Maybe I didn't dig deep enough. Because part of it with the news is, obviously, I'm selective on what news I'm going to cover. It has to be what I would say podcast related. And so, yeah, sometimes I miss out on stuff. But I believe it's because they both James Tynan and Michael Walsh post on their Instagrams. But I believe it's finally happening, because from the first issue, I was like, this needs to be a TV show. Just not a movie. We need like a show with like multiple episodes so things can be really fleshed out. So issue 9 came out. I recommend you reading that. Let's see, Rogue Sun 32. I'm just so behind on that. I Hate Fairyland. I got to get caught up on that. And I say that every month, and I don't. So I have no idea what's going on, but I love Scotty Young. So someday I'm going to be in for a treat. I'll get to read all these. I think that's it for the non-Marvel and DC. So at Marvel, we had Alien versus Captain America number 3. This is I'm finding this interesting. Besides the fact that it's Captain America fighting aliens, the xenomorph aliens, but it's in it's World War II era. Things are different. History has changed a little bit, and we have, like you can see on the cover, Captain America's fighting alongside the Kree. I don't want to say anything specific, but like, who could he be fighting with? Just Joe Kree soldier, or is there anything more specific? And other things that have happened differently. So it's cool. When I first heard about this, I was like, okay, that's cool, but it's probably gonna be super cheesy. But no, they're doing a good job with that. And again, this is written by Frank Thierry. He's writing it, and Stefano Raffaelli is doing the art. So you should be reading that. We have Amazing Spider-Man number 20. This is an Earthbound installment. So we're seeing stuff with Norman. Norman's got a bunch of people after him for the sins that he's committed and stuff like that. And they're attacking him. They end up like around at Oscorp, and there's a bunch of people. Like May Parker is there. She's like demanding to talk to Norman because probably like, where's Peter? What's going on with him? And she figures he might know something. We're also seeing like Ben has been kind of helping out, and he's kind of done. He's on his way out. So it's like, okay, Peter needs to get back. There's a big mess happening. But it's cool seeing Norman fight with like such high stakes, and I'm curious like what's going to happen after this. How's he going to be affected by this? Let's see. We had Black Panther Intergalactic number 2. I didn't read number 1. We have Captain America number 6, Doom Shadow Part 1. So this is written by Chip Zdarsky. let's see, what Delio Diaz and Frank Alpizar are the artists. What's cool about this? This is like post Doctor Doom, the whatever Emperor Doom stuff. And the big concern is, okay, at Latveria, there's no Doctor Doom there, so we got this like power vacuum. Aside from like who's going to take over the country, want to lead the country or rule the country, the more important thing is there's a ton of weaponry there that if it gets in the wrong hands, that could be there's like nuclear weapons type of thing. So there's a lot of concern with getting there and trying to sort things out. And like Nick Fury Jr., he's like, hey, Cap, we got to go there. Because they can't just send Avengers there because Avengers are, a lot of people aren't really happy. Some people blamed Avengers for Doctor Doom disappearing because a lot of people thought Emperor Doom was doing a great job. And, they're perceived as just like an American group. So they can't just go into another country. But if they can send like a small SHIELD team, maybe that could be a little different. But he's kind of like an interesting one. He's like, yeah, I don't really want to be leading, a team, whatever. But there's some interesting things that are happening. There's also Red Hulk, Thunderbolt Ross, because he was held prisoner by Doctor Doom for months. He wants to get in there as well, but that's a whole different story. So we may have some opposition going on here. Then we have Punisher or Daredevil and Punisher number 3. This is a Jimmy Palmiotti written comic, and I really dig this. Tommaso Bianchi does the art, and Gabriel Guzman. What's cool about this is it's like its own thing. It's not a Marvel Knights book, but it's definitely not like regular continuity because there's just little vibes that are different. Even though like Matt Murdock's talking in Misty Knight, he's like getting help from her, but she doesn't know Matt is Daredevil, and I can't even keep track of like who knows Matt is Daredevil or not in the 616, but there's Matt and Punisher keep coming at odds because Punisher just wants to kill everyone, but Matt wants to question. He wants to get information from these potential whatever suspects, and then he wants them to go to jail and not just killed. And Punisher doesn't agree. One of the things that kind of they get in a fight at one point, and yes, Punisher is great hand-to-hand combat. I feel like Daredevil would have the edge. And yeah, Frank Punisher is gonna fight dirty, but there's one scene I was like, I don't know, but sometimes Punisher is gonna get lucky, I guess. So otherwise, the story wouldn't last. It wouldn't be that long. I don't know. We have Fantastic Four number 7, Invincible Woman Part 2. So there was this encoded message, whatever, in the background radiation or something like that, and Galactus is basically asking for Susan Storm. Or Susan Richards. And so they're figuring, well, there must be something up that Galactus is, because he's not just going to ask for help for nothing. So they need to go there. But then the concern is, well, if they were able to decipher this message, probably others could too. That could mean other people might try to attack Earth if they figured the Fantastic Four had left Earth to go talk to Galactus. So the team, they kind of have to put a plan in motion. It's like, okay, if we leave, we need people to help out to cover things. And, the Avengers and X-Men, everything like that, they can be on call, but they're going to be busy. So, there's kind of like this recruitment, sort of like, whatever, not a recruitment drive, but they line up some other people who they can be, can be counted on to be there to protect the kids and help out and everything like that. So I'm enjoying that. It's fun. Hulk Smash Everything number 2. I don't think I read number 1, so I didn't read this one because when I see that, I was like, okay, yeah, this is going to be like, I don't want to say it's a silly comic, but it's probably gonna be a silly comic. Ryan North is writing. I dig his writing, but maybe I'll check that out at some point if I have time. But I didn't read it. Then we have Inglorious X-Force, Shadows of Tomorrow, number 1. I'm finding I'm not really an X-Force fan. Part of it is like the extreme nature of things. This one I have to admit was there were some interesting elements to this. So I am intrigued. It was written by Tim Seeley, and we have Cable. The big question is, when is this Cable from? At one point, and he witnesses like a future where someone is assassinated, and he's like, we need to do something to stop this. So he goes back in the past, and which I think he's at the present. He goes back to the present, and he starts to recruit a team. But you can see on the cover, I guess this kind of gives it away. There's Archangel, Boom Boom, and Helverine. So I actually finally read a comic with Helverine, which is Daken. I don't know how Daken got these Helverine powers. And then when he shuts them off, he's back to normal, and he's got his hair and everything. When he's Helverine, he is like bald. He's like I don't understand. Here's like the weird thing. I'm so bizarrely fascinated. Like, how the heck did Daken turn into Helverine? Yet I'm doing nothing to try to solve it. Yeah, I could probably find Wikipedia or some whatever online entry about it, but yeah, maybe I just want to sit and be like, this is so weird, and once I find out, I'll be like, oh, okay. So they're trying to establish things. New Avengers #8. The big thing is here, like you see on the cover, who is the traitor? Bucky found out who's supposedly okay. So I guess I'll say this. Supposedly, we got this Illuminati. Someone made clones of Tony Stark and Black Panther and Reed Richards and Doctor Strange and I'm probably forgetting Namor and there's probably other people I'm forgetting. But it appears that it was Black Widow. It's like, why would Black Widow do that? She's on the team with Bucky and Laura Kinney and Clea and who else is on there? Hulk was sort of, not really. But it's like, why would Natasha do that when they're fighting and everything like that? So then the question is, was it Natasha or was it a clone of Natasha? And who's in charge? What's going on? So we get some answers here, and it's interesting. Planet She-Hulk #3. I like the idea of this, but I think it's because it's borderline like Marvel Galactic stuff. It's a slight turnoff for me. And it's She-Hulk on this planet. She's watching the planet, and there's it's a lot of political stuff. Like who's going to be in charge of Scar, who's going to rule it, and there's been assassinations and stuff like that, and people are getting framed and everything. So there's some cool things where She-Hulk is trying to keep the peace, but there's all these other pieces just in motion, and so it's interesting, but. Then there was Psylocke Ninja #1. So this is another Tim Seeley. I'm reading this. I was like, okay, Psylocke Ninja, and then it starts off with Betsy Braddock with the X-Men when she was Psylocke, and then they go through the Siege Perilous, and then that's when she turns into Ninja. Because I'm like, wait, I was like, Betsy's not Psylocke anymore. It's Quanon. So I'll be honest, I didn't read. I started skimming through this, and it feels. My impression is this is basically looking into Betsy when she was first, after going through the Siege Perilous, when she switched bodies with Quanon, when she was in Quanon's body and became a ninja, working for the Hand and stuff like that. So I think we're exploring that immediate time and going to see what happens. Then there's Rogue, Shadows of Tomorrow. I guess that's just the new label, whatever they're calling this. So Rogue #1. And when I was reading, I was like, I don't know if I want to read this. And I'm like, who are they fighting? And I was like, is this in the present? Is this another past book? But no, because then as one page you see the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. So you see old school Rogue and Destiny and Mystique and Pyro and Blob and Avalanche. I was like, is this another flashback story? But then it's no, because those kids that are in the Gail Simone X-Men book, they're here, and the important thing is, or what you get out of here is Rogue goes to talk to like Destiny. It's like she can talk to Destiny and Mystique, like what's going on, what's happening with them. So that's like the most important thing of value here. Spider-Man 94 issue 5, Final Showdown. I didn't read this because of time, and I was like, I haven't been loving this, so I'll read it later, hopefully, maybe. But if it says Final Showdown, does that mean this is a mini-series, this is the last issue, or this is finally closing a chapter on like the Craven and Kane Parker stuff? I don't know. There's Spider-Man Wolverine number 9. I didn't read this. I can't believe this series is still going. There's some fun aspects to the idea of Spider-Man and Wolverine together, but for them to nonstop be teaming up, it's one thing when you had that for the first story arc, but now it's like I don't even know what's going on, and it's like I think they're still with I forgot her name, who's like giving them hard time and whatever. But yeah, I didn't read that. Star Wars number 9. I'm not loving this current era. I'm like waiting for, because part of it, I don't like anything these days, do I? But part of it is, it's after Return of the Jedi, so there's a lot of, again, the politics aspect of it, trying to establish the new republic, and there's like some systems that don't want anything to do with it. They're like, no, we don't want to join you. We just want to be on our own. We lived under the Empire's Iron Fist or whatever for so long, and why should we trust you? And so there's like a lot of like political espionage or factors, what's going on there, and then there's stuff going on with Luke and Han, and yeah, I don't know. And like at one point, Leia finds out that she's like, I need to go to him. They need help, and Mon Mothma's like, you can't just run off and do whatever you want. You're leading. You're like the voice or whatever of the Republic, and this is more than just a couple people. No matter how important they are to you, you got it. So, got those things to think about. We also had the Mortal Thor number 6. So I was reading this, and as I was reading this, I was like, did I read issue 5? Because Sigurd, whatever his name is, he's like in a reptile house and he's like fighting, and then I forget this guy's name. Is his name King Cobra or something like that? And he starts yammering on, and they're like fighting, and because the question is like, wait, Thor's dead, so who's this? But then there's stuff with the evil Don Blake entity, whatever. I don't even know how you describe him. He's pulling some strings, doing some stuff, and we see someone else is like, oh, I'm gonna cause some problems too, and it's just like I'm starting to lose interest. But I was like super excited when this series came out. I was like, oh, this is cool. Ultimate Black Panther issue 24. I didn't read that. Wiccan Witches Road number 2. I think I skimmed issue 1, so I didn't read this one. We have X-Men 24. This is Age of Revolution epilogue. So at first, you look at his cover, it's like, oh, Cassandra Nova and this 3K, whatever. I think they're the 3K, this other team. A lot of it deals, I didn't realize Joseph, the Magneto clone, was on this team. I totally missed that somehow. But they're wondering, it's like, where's the chairman, the person? And the chairman is the person who, for some reason, was... spoiler, went into the future. So when the last wonderful story arc, Cyclops his mind was brought like X years, 10 years into the future. So his present and his future minds swapped to try to deal with this, stuff that Doug Ramsey, ruined the world and everything. So it was supposed to be Scott and Hank, Cyclops and Beast. But Beast was like, I've been here. I don't know what you're talking about. So it's like, if Beast didn't get mind swapped and sent to the future, who does Cyclops think? Because he talked to Beast. It's like, what's going on? So we find out more about that, and And then they have this evil team of X-Men, which I don't really care for any of them. It's like right now I couldn't tell you the names of any of them, apart from Joseph, who's like, call me Magneto. So we'll see. And part of it, I don't know if it's because they're setting themselves up to be like such a formidable group of villains, and I'm like, how are they gonna beat them? Like, what does this mean? I don't know. So I'm just not looking forward to this so much. We have X-Men of Apocalypse #2. I didn't read that. That's a Jeff Loeb, Simone DeMeo comic. So I just don't care for Age of Apocalypse stuff. So I am sorry. At DC, there wasn't a lot this week at DC, and of course I didn't read a lot either. I don't think so. When I look at. I've been using like the Amazon Kindle thing to look at like what comics are coming out from a different publisher, since I can't rely on Previous World. I haven't even bothered checking it. So when I looked up the books coming out from DC, they mentioned DC, Marvel, Batman, Deadpool, but I think that's the one that came out already. It's a little weird because Marvel did their version. I guess Marvel would have done Deadpool, Batman, and I'm assuming DC then did Batman, Deadpool. But it's listed here. I don't know why it's listed here, because this issue already came out, and it's not like oh, it's a second printing, because they wouldn't list a second. Unless they're listing a second printing on the Kindle, whatever Comixology. I don't even know what this is. Even though the original is still in print, it's a digital comic. Digital comic's not going to get sold out. So I don't know. I didn't check that out. There's Wonder Woman 29. This is written by Stephanie Williams. I don't know, is she the new writer now? Is there no more Tom King? This is, Wonder Woman and Lizzie, her baby, they go to Paradise Island, and she's trying to figure out, she's still dealing with the loss of Steve and all that. But then, we do see like Cassie Sandsmark, Donna Troy, and what's her name? I totally had it. Yara, the other Wonder Girl. My thing with this other Wonder Girl, I really like the concept of the character and design and everything, but what I've noticed, like in semi-recently, she kind of has like such an attitude, and it's like you're the new kid on the block, and you think you're like so much better than like Cassie Sandsmark, who was in like Young Justice and Teen Titans or whatever, and it's just like you've had your superhero costume for like 2 weeks, and you think you're like Queen Poop, whatever. I don't know. That's kind of all I read. There's World's Finest, Batman Superman World's Finest, but I think that's like the morphing. So it might be the composite Clash Fusion. I didn't read that because I'm not digging that. Titans I just haven't been reading. This was a DCKO book, so I feel like maybe I should have checked it out, but I didn't. Nightwing 134. I started reading this, and this is Children of the Circus. I forgot what it's called. And as I start reading, then I switched to skimming. I'm trying to think like what's this vibe going here, because it almost felt like a 90s. Was it a 90s? I don't think it would be an 80s comic, but it felt like from a different time. It almost felt a little dated, and it's just weird because I feel like Nightwing's been sort of elevated in Bloodhaven and everything like that, and he's kind of been. It feels like he's kind of like not pushed down, but it feels like it's not current Nightwing, even though it is, and I don't know. Here's a circus. I don't know what's going on, or is it an evil circus? And it didn't hold my attention. We also have DCKO Green Lantern Galactic Slam. I don't even know what that means. I was like, I can't. I'm not gonna read that. Superman Unlimited #9. I started skimming this. And I was like, I'll check it out because I like Dan Slott, but I don't know. I feel like Dan Slott. I really appreciate his attitude and everything, and his approach. But I feel like sometimes not that he tries to be. I mean, he can be. He is funny a guy, but sometimes he tries, not that he's trying to be quirky or something like that, but I felt like this wasn't just like a regular Superman book. But that could be a good thing, because, Superman has been kind of written the same way. So, he tries adding a little levity or whatever. But here, this is more like a Clark Kent story. And we have someone, who is it? Is it the prankster? Or no, maybe it's not prankster. But there's like a callback to an old Golden Age character, maybe. I don't think he's Silver Age. One of the things where it's like Clark is doing his TV reporting. So is he for the Daily? Does the Daily Planet have a TV aspect of it? Because we had Clark Kent. Was it Star? How was it Star Labs? There's something he was a news anchor for Global, some other. It wasn't Daily Planet, because Daily Planet's newspaper. And so wait, he's doing that again. But I also think so. This might be like out of context. I haven't really been reading Superman Unlimited, but I know at one point Perry White is I don't know if he's the editor-in-chief of Daily Planet, or it's former editor-in-chief. So I don't know what's going on here. And then the last comic that I did not read is Catwoman 83. I dig that cover. It's like Court of Owls, and just the colors and then the style of the art there looks cool, but I have no idea what's going on. I don't know where I should have checked this out. But yeah, I don't know what's happening there. I'm curious, where is Selena Kyle at this point? What is she doing and everything? So if you know, let me know. But that is it for comics this week. Let's start talking about some TV. Let's talk Fallout Season 2, Episode 5, The Wrangler. I'm enjoying this show. I know. I think it was the first episode of this season. I was like, I don't know, but I'm enjoying it. And so here's the thing: what I noticed, this episode doesn't really talk about the Knights of the Commonwealth, all that stuff. I don't really care so much about that, even though things are heating up. I don't know. I just find maybe it's too political. I don't know. Something about that is just I'm not feeling it. I'm really enjoying the Flash. I'm surprised how much I'm enjoying the flashbacks with Ghoul. Ghoul, I remember the first time I saw him, I was like, I don't know how I feel about it. He doesn't have a nose, and he's got such an attitude and everything. But it's interesting seeing, even when we saw the early flashbacks, it's like, okay, yeah, he wasn't that great of a guy, but although the first time we see him is when he's at that party with his daughter, when he's performing, when he's being at a kid's birthday. But I'm really enjoying this, and then it's what is Kyle MacLachlan? What is Hank doing? And it's just interesting. All this stuff. It's what I'm fascinated with is just the time period, trying to figure out when is this kind of taking place, because when we see these flashback portions, it's kind of has like a 50s feel to it, but there are hints of futuristic elements. It's wait, are those really? It's not the 50s, and obviously it's some alternate Earth, whatever timeline. It's not in our timeline. But what we saw was I'm getting these mixed up. I think it was last episode when we saw the flashback with Cooper when he was fighting. He was actually fighting in one of the armored suits. So obviously they didn't have suits like that in the 50s. So it's what does this mean? Where are we at? And then I think it's been a couple hundred years since then. And what we're seeing is, people have been cryogenically frozen. Hank, Kyle MacLachlan, he was from that time. He and Cooper Gould, they ran into each other. They knew each other back in the past before the bombs went off or whatever. So I find this whole thing interesting where it's and Betty, the overseer, she said that she was thawed out 40 years ago. So she's been out for 40 years. But then I'm assuming other people have been, Kyle MacLachlan, he must be frozen, thawed out, whatever. Because, yeah. So this episode starts off Ghoul and Lucy, they're staring at the Death Claw roaring. So that's, they're in Vegas. There's a big, huge reptilian, whatever beast thing there. And but then it turns out there's actually like 3 of them. There's a couple on each side. Lucy turns to Ghoul. She's like, I defer to you about what to do in this situation. Because she's like, let's just go and fight, because she's still like on drugs or whatever. And Ghoul's just like, run. So they run. They hide behind the car. And she's like, do you have any more drugs? I really think I need more drugs. It's like, you have any more drugs? And he's like, drugs? He's like, no, I ain't got no more drugs. And she's like, okay, then which weapon would you recommend for this? Because she took a bunch of weapons from the New Republic of California, whatever. And he's like, you got a rocket launcher in that bag? And she's like, nope. And then one of the things starts like crawling on top of the car, like sniffing for them. Dog meat whimpers, like runs off and squeezes like through this opening in this like big fence or wall or something like that. And then Ghoul like he throws like a satchel or something, and he shoots it and it explodes. Huge explosion. They run in opposite directions. It wasn't a huge distraction or anything like that, because they start chasing right away. So they run, and they like slide like into that hole like under the fence that Dog Meat went through. Then next time we see him, it's like daytime, and they're standing in the middle of Vegas. There's people moving about. It's like, because where they were at before, there was like no one there. So these things, Death Claws, they must be like roaming around. So on the other side of the wall, everything must be totally fine. And, so people are working and, whatever. Then she asks, she's like, those surprisingly smelly lizard monster bull things, have they always been here? And Ghoul's like, nope. And she's like, okay, I'd ask why my dad ran into a den of giant monsters, but you'd probably just tell me to shut the fudge up. And he like sighs. He's like, which is this what I appreciate. Instead of him just being a jerk, he actually answers her. He's like, before the war, there was a plan for a special vault, a vault for management. That's where my wife is, where my daughter is too. And she's like, you never found it? He's like, oh no, I found one. In California, it was empty. Found another one in Oregon. It was empty too. Turns out there's more than a few special vaults for management sprinkled across the wasteland. All of them empty. But I've never found one in Vegas. And Lucy's like, so you think if my dad's there, maybe your wife and daughter are too? He's like, uh-huh. And now they're surrounded by these fudging things. And you can hear like, the Death Claws like chittering and growling like outside the walls. She's like, I think we should just go in there and get past them. He's like, you can't just waltz past a pack of Death Claws. She's like, they're called Death Claws? And, so now they're at that fireside place where he wanted to go before in a detour. She's like, look, I know it's not an ideal situation, but nothing is up here, right? She's like, now I'll admit, in an altered mental state, I think we should just shoot these monsters in the face. And frankly, whatever we do, we need to do it quickly, because I am very much out of drugs. So he gives her some coins. He's like, take this. He's like, there's a general store over there called Sonny's. Ask for something called Addictitol. He's like, it'll clean all that poop you got running through your veins. And she's like, hey, maybe they'll have something to take down those lizards. He's like, I wouldn't bet on it. And she's like, where are you going? He's like, to get fudged up. So Ghoul enters like a tavern, a bar or whatever, asks for a whiskey, and then, the bartender pours a drink, and then he's like, leave the bottle. So then the bartender says that he guessed, he probably saw the Death Claw things, says that they're fighting around the strip, and he's like, big whoop, just another fudging round of change in management. All it is, it's like one of those merry-go-rounds, NCR Legion, fudging robots. It's like, no matter to me, always someone trying to tell us what to do, long as they don't come around and charge me taxes. I was like, I don't give a fudge. Don't charge me taxes, lizard. I'll shoot your GD head off. And Ghoul's just like, stop talking. And the bartender like looks at him, like he's obviously kind of offended, but then he sees like Ghoul's expression, and so he just leaves him alone. And then Ghoul takes another drink, and he just like stares at his reflection in the bar mirror. So it's like, Ghoul is going through something. And then we see this like old-timey newsreel, Galaxy News, Vault-Tec presents, and it talks about like the government slowly negotiating with our communist adversaries. Captains of industry gather in Las Vegas, Nevada to decide the fate of the free world. The leader of this historic summit, Robert House, founder of Robco Industry, what does he think about the odds of succeeding where the government has failed? And he's like, where I come from, which is America, the house always wins. So still in the past, young Hank apologizes to Cooper Howard and his wife Barbara. They're at the airport. He's says sorry for being late. He offers to take their bags to the gate, but Cooper comments that it looks like he's already got his hands full. He's carrying this metal Vault-Tec briefcase, and it's handcuffed to his wrist. And he's like, oh, I'm suddenly a very important person and a possible assassination target. So Barb tells him that they'll just meet him at the gate. Then Cooper tells her to go ahead. He's going to call his agent. So he gets in a phone booth, and then 2 phone booths down, Kate Williams, which is Lee. I guess that's the name that Lee Moldaver used. She's the lady in charge or whatever, the resistance and all that. I don't know if she's in a New California Republic. I don't remember. So she answers, and she's like, glad you chose to do the right thing. And Cooper's like, is that what you call killing a man? And she's like, check the coin return. If Robert House gets cold fusion, the Vault-Tec gets the bombs. So there's this little jar in there with this reddish liquid. And she's like, this is the only way to stop it. And he's like, is this what I think it is? She's like, you're a soldier. You've killed before. He's like, in uniform. And she's like, wearing a uniform doesn't make it any better. I'm giving you the opportunity to save countless lives in exchange for one. I think in this case, the ends justify the means. And he's like, people have been saying poop like that for years. And he looks over at Hank and Barb at the gate. He's like, I'll tell you what, I'll stop the exchange. I'll get your cold fusion back, but I'm not going to kill a man to do it. He hangs up and he leaves the liquid on the little ledge in the phone booth, and she just watches him go. So then they arrive in Vegas, drive through the city. There's protesters with signs, separate house and state. Get $sign out of politics. And then we see one of those big robots that we've seen before, that guy Victor that Cooper or that Gould knew. So they arrive at the hotel. They get out of the door. There's a big sign or whatever of Cooper in his vault suit with his thumbs up, and Cooper's like, "There's a Vault-Tec hotel," and Barb's like, "Your ad campaign has been an enormous success." He's like, "What a crazy world." Then he sees a woman with a flag getting forcibly escorted out of the hotel, and she's like, "I deserve to be part of the conversation." So it's that Congresswoman Welsh, and when they escort her out, she kind of stumbles and falls down these the stairs. They're big steps, so she falls down a couple of them. It doesn't get hurt or anything like that, but she's sitting on the ground. People are just staring. So Cooper finally goes and helps her, and he says that he's really sorry about that. And she's like, "Oh, it's fine." She's like, "Fighting a good fight is mostly a series of humiliations." Then she kind of sees who it is. So Barbara calls his name, kind of let's get going. And Cooper nods to the congresswoman. He tells her to keep at it. They walk in this big casino. People are mingling. Cooper sees Hank talking to someone. Barb tells Cooper that she needs to talk to some reps from Robco. She's like, "Do you care to join?" And he's like, "What do you think?" So he says he's going to get a couple drinks, and then he heads over to follow, because Hank's starting to leave, so he follows him. He goes upstairs to the second floor, kind of like a balcony floor, and there's this other bar area. He looks at the case and cuff, and it also almost looks like Hank has one of those Pit Boy wrist things. Elevator pings, and some people cheer, and someone's like, "Oh, it's Robert House." Cooper takes a long look at some dude in a suit that walks towards him. He bends closer and he's like, "Mr. House would like to see you." So he rides in an elevator up, and then Victor, the Securitron robot, is there to greet him. He's like, "Well, howdy, partner." And Cooper's like, "Howdy." And the robot's like, "Right this way." And looking down a balcony, Cooper sees this huge monitor. There's this huge screen split into 4, and then there's 2 more monitors on each side, and Robert House is sitting in front of the computer console, and there's kind of a computer in front, all these little screens and stuff like that. The closed caption lists him as stranger, and he's like, "Well, hello, I'm Robert House." And Cooper stares at him. He's like, "From the fudging toilet?" So I was right. It was him, which it should have been obvious. I should have known. So he laughs. He's like, "I apologize. I was just very eager to meet you." He's like, "Now, I know that you came to Vegas to kill me. Did you not? And Cooper just stares at him. And then it fades to black. It's like we get these like what would be a commercial break. And maybe because on some Amazon plans there are commercials now. So I don't know. In the present, we see that snake oil salesman guy. We saw him before. He's walking on the road, and he gets attacked by this giant roach, and he has to like stab it, whatever. He's making his way to Las Vegas because there's like a sign like 50 miles out or something like that. Then later, he's sitting at a table with this like other like big robot, and he's like, I know it's been a while. It's like you can't begrudge me for spending time elsewhere. And the robot says it's a fully integrated security technotronic officer. So I don't know if that means anything. If maybe something for the game. So it says it's active and reporting for duty. So the dude's like, that makes two of us. So then he turns and he's surprised to see Hank like standing there. And he's like, oh, looky-loo, eh? He's like, go watch from behind a shrub or something, like a civilized pervert. And then to the robot, he's like, now where were we? And then bam, Hank whacks him like with a tire iron. He's like knocked out. So we see Hank in the little car thing that he drives around, like the Vault-Tec office. He goes past like the cryogenic biorepository room, and inside we get a glimpse, like outside of the cryopods, there's one that says Barbara Howard on it, and the camera pans up, and we can't see inside because like the glass is like frosted over or something like that. But then above her pod is another pod marked Janie Howard. So now we know Cooper's wife and daughter are there. The snake oil salesman dude wakes up. He has one of those device things on the back of his neck, and he like sighs. His hands are bound on the table. There's like kind of like these built-in like big hand gauntlet cuffs things or whatever. So Hank smiles. He's like, how would you like to forget everything you've ever known? Everyone you've ever known. Your language and motor skills will remain intact. But every choice you've made, every moment you've cherished will be completely and utterly removed from your memory. And the dude's like, yes, please. So Hank puts on some goggles, turns the controls on for like the device. He starts turning the dial, and the guy's like, oh. He's like, good gracious. And he's like, no. And the camera like starts panning back because there's like a glass window behind the dude. And this is where, we can't see the actual explosion because I don't know if I'm assuming it's a cost thing. That it would cost more just to show this guy's head explosion, whatever. And maybe also they don't want it to be too graphic. So the camera starts panning out, and then we see the glass where the head's going to splat, but it doesn't. And then it goes back. We see like Hank's kind of shocked, slowly takes off the goggles, and the dude's just like kind of stares at him. Then Hank like chuckles softly. He's like, let's begin. And he pushes like this like big red button. Then we see like Norm in the present, they're still in the present. Norm and the outside vault crew, they continue walking. They've reached this old Vault-Tec building, and inside the place is abandoned. And Clark's like, ew, it's so dirty in here. And some guy Pete says, it's like walking on garbage. And there's like some dead bodies like sitting in chairs. Clark's like, one of them must be the janitor. So then Norm finds this big splotch of blood on the wall, and he like touches it. It's like, it's still wet. It's like fresh. So he tries to get their attention, but he gets cut off. Ronnie points out that there's this dead body at the reception desk. She's like, look, it's Janice. He's like, because they knew her, it looks like she's still working. One guy says that she was always a kiss ass, and then suddenly there's like big banging and like chittering from behind like this boarded up area by the blood. So it's actually the elevator. I wasn't sure like where it was coming from. Norm says that they should get out of there, and then you hear it, chick, like, this is my squat. So there's two ladies, so Ma June and Barv. The other lady's like, it's our squat, and the first lady I think was Ma June. She's like, they know what I meant. And then she's like, well, I'll be more vault dwellers. So Norm like steps forward. He's like, what do you mean more vault dwellers? So then a little later, Claudia, the one lady who was thought out, she was like new to the company. She asked Barv, what's making that noise in the elevator? And she's like, Roach Farm. And then there's like a bang. And Claudia's like, how big are they? Bar's like, not big enough for market yet, but they'll get there. So then we see Norm's like talking to Majun. He's like, so you met my sister? And she's like, yeah, back in Philly before the Brotherhood of Steel burnt it down. Had her help a fella from the Enclave get through the poop hole to some folks from the NCR who weren't in town when Shady Sands blew up. Pretty slim odds. I was like, what with it being con country? And Norm's like, what? And she's like, He's like, I don't understand what any of that means. And I kind of didn't understand either. I was like, wait. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I forget you vaults don't much care for our current events. And she sighs. She's like, your sister's dead, honey. And he's like, you don't know that? He's like, you don't know my sister. And she's like, I know the wasteland better than you do. And I know plenty well what it does to folks as soft as you all are. Now, I want to tell you what I told her. And for y'all's sake, I hope you listen. Go home, Vaulty. And she's like, let's go, Barv. If you idiots need supplies for a trip home, help yourselves. But don't touch my roach farm. He's like, good luck, dip poops. Then it's like another commercial break. Lucy still hasn't gone to the store for the anti-drug stuff. So she's walking the street. She finds Sonny's, Sonny's Sundries. There's a sign in the window that says Addictol 125, like caps, is crossed off. And now it says 1,000. So she checks like the pouch of coins that Ghoul gave her, and she like walks away because she doesn't have that much. But then she notices, like on the side of the building, the door's open. So she kind of like sneaks in, and she sees that Addictol like in a case, like in a display case. So she grabs it because there's like no one around. And then there's this other device called a Power Fist, and it's marked at like 10,000 caps. So she grabs that as well. And then she ducks down because she hears someone coming downstairs. So she puts the Power Fist in a satchel. She like starts walking like back towards where she came in, but then she stops because she sees like a bucket with a dead body in it, and I don't know if it's like chopped up or anything because it's like the way it's fitting in there. And then the guy that came out, whether it's the shopkeeper, says, "What are you doing?" And she kind of, she kind of stutters, and she's like, "Oh, I came in the wrong door." And he looks like he's trying to figure out like what she's doing, or maybe he's trying to figure out like what moves he's gonna make. And she looks at him. There's like a drawing hanging up. She's like, "Are you Sonny?" And the guy's like, "He left town." And she's like, "Okay, so he's not in that trash can behind me?" And the guy's like, "No, that's the guy who tried to rob the place." She's like, and he's naked, so did he come in here naked? And the guy's like, yeah, I mean, it's not weird for someone to rob a store naked. Lots of people do it, okay? And then he looks, there's some guns like kind of hanging on the wall. And she's like, anyway, I'm just going to be leaving now, and you're not going to shoot me as I go. And she's like, sir, don't touch that gun. If you touch that gun, I'm going to have to maim you. And he like picks up a gun. She pulls her out, and she shoots, or he shoots. She shoots too. He goes down. And she's kind of like disappointed because she didn't want to shoot him. And she sighs, walks over to him. She's like, sir, I'm sorry. But then he's lying there in a big like pool of blood. And she's like, oh gosh. This lady like comes into the shop, and she's like, oh, who are you? And Lucy's like, I don't know. Ghoul is still sitting at the bar. He gets up, grabs a bottle, and goes upstairs. So in the past, House says to Cooper, he's like, I've been following you around for a long time. And Cooper's like, have you? And he's like, oh, don't worry. I'm not a crazy like fan from one of your films. Unlike Edison and some of the rest, he's like, I don't care for fiction. It's not real. It doesn't matter. My interest in you, though, on the other hand, well, that does matter. And Cooper's like, how do you figure that? He's like, our destinies are mathematically intertwined. So Cooper like turns to the other guy. He's like, how long have you been pretending to be this guy? And the guy's like, about 10 years. And Cooper's like, 10 years. And he chuckles. And the guy's like, it's a living. So the dude leaves. Robert House is like, Mr. Howard. It's like, come down here. Let's you and I talk. So Cooper's still like upstairs, like on because there's like stairs on both sides, like winding down that lead down to where House is sitting. And he's like, I'm not going to come down there. House is like, come down here. And he's like, I don't want to come down there. And he's like, Mr. Howard, I was there with you in Alaska. And Cooper's like, I doubt that very much. And House is like, not physically, of course. I'm not insane, but I did license a piece of software to West Tech, which gave me access to the T-45 armor you wore. So I saw what you saw. I saw it all. I saw the demon in the snow. And I believe that it's connected to the future of this great nation and to your wife. So then Cooper comes down. He's like yourself, Mr. Howard, I am an apex competitor. We are the very best at what we do. And what I do is I know everything. I know who's making what technology, and I require that technology at the most lucrative moment in its span of functionality. And he hits this red button on this hidden panel, and the secret room opens up behind Cooper, under where he was standing out on the balcony. He's like, this week I am acquiring cold fusion from Vault-Tec. And Cooper's like, from my wife. And House is like, correct. It will allow me to stay alive indefinitely in robotized, non-biological form and protect Las Vegas from the coming nuclear war. And he's like, initiated by my wife? And House is like, unclear. And Cooper's like, by Vault-Tec then? And House is like, no, I doubt that, despite what we both heard in that meeting. So, which is, I guess, the meeting that Cooper was listening in on, I guess House was as well. He's like, Vault-Tec is a collision of bureaucrats. Your wife, though, I don't know. And Cooper's like, you said you knew everything. And he's like, I routinely design and run mathematical paradigms based on global, political, and socio-economic conditions in an effort to predict future events. And one spring morning, the data coalesced, and it told me in no uncertain terms that the world would, end. Cooper nods. He's like, calculator told you that? He's like, the date at the end of the world may not interest you, Mr. Howard, but the date of the data, the date that he says data, and I say data, the date that the data coalesced might, April 14th, 2065 at 5:17 a.m. So this part right here is like, whoa, wait a minute. 2065? So House is like, is that date of any interest to you? And he's like, that's my daughter's birthday. So was she born in 2065, or is just the date is the same? We don't know. And House is like, oh, that is vexingly curious, isn't it? More curious is that you were not meant to come to Vegas this weekend. Your wife, Barbara, was very meant to come alone. The moment that you bought your ticket to Las Vegas, the date the world was going to end jumped forward by 1 month. And Cooper's like, what are you, fortune telling now? He's like, I am a mathematician, a roboticist, and a casino owner. And I don't know yet how you figure into all of this, but you most certainly do. And I don't like unknown variables, irksome, not knowing exactly how you play a part in the ending of the world. And Cooper's like, the person who wanted me to kill you, you know what they think? They think that you are going to end things by selling Vault-Tec the weapons it needs. And he's like, no, the bombs will not be dropped by me or any of the idiots in that meeting. What I believe that there is another player at the table, the same unknown entity responsible for your demon in the snow. And he's kind of, Cooper starts rubbing his temple. And he's like, who? And House is like, I don't know. It's like I said, irksome. As you see, I live my life by one simple maxim. And Cooper's like, the house always wins, right? House is like, and it does. I'm making sure of it using every single piece of technology at my disposal. And so now he has this helmet on with some diodes and lights and stuff on there. He's like, but what if I'm not the house? What if, someone else is? And Cooper's like, what if you're just a fudging lunatic? He's like, I'm a lunatic? And Cooper's like, yeah. And House is like, I would encourage you to gaze inward, Mr. Howard, to your small life, spending your days pretending to be a cowboy while your wife is making apocalyptic proposals. Cooper starts heading up the stairs. As soon as he mentioned that, he's like, okay, I'm done. He's like, so making apocalyptic proposals at board meetings, and I'm building a missile system to defend this glorious city from what's coming. But from whom, Mr. Howard, from whom? Who ends the world? Is it you? What if it is you? I don't think you're a cowboy at all, no. And Cooper's like clicks the elevator button. He's like, I think you're a killer, and I think I know exactly who you are. So like in the elevator, Cooper takes out a flask. He starts like, he leans his head back, just like starts pouring it like in his mouth, and like somebody like dribbles on his chin. He doesn't even care. He's just, for some reason, he's like, he just needs to be drinking. And then it kind of flickers back and forth between Cooper and Gould at drinking at the bar, like upstairs. So then we see he's sitting in a room when he has his feet up. He kind of looks sad or tired or something like that. Fades black. Another commercial. It's so weird. It's like I've never noticed this so much. I don't know if it's always done this, but probably, maybe. At the old Vault-Tec building, Ronnie, Clark, and Pete, they go into like the comms room. Norm kind of follows along, and Ronnie's like, the comms are dead. And Norm's asks, he's like, who are you hoping to contact? And Ronnie's like, the investors. And he stares at Norm for a bit. Then to Clark, he's like, you're a project manager. Get this operational, stat. And then he takes Petey to try like this different room. I don't know if there's more comms or something in there. Norm goes to check on Claudia because she's in this other room, and she seems to be like crying. So he asks her if she's okay, and she apologizes. She said it all hit her at once. Even if her parents survived the bombs, they'd be gone by now. Same with her friends, her cat. And Norm's like, he's like, does your cat have a name? And she's like, his name was Puppy. And Norm's like, Puppy the cat? And she's like, it's funny, huh? And he's like, I mean, not right now, I guess. He's like, or did she say that now? Or someone said that. He's like, you don't strike me as the kind of person who would sign up for a program like this. It's like, did you know going in about the future enterprise ventures? And she's like I said, I just started this job a week ago, but everything these people talked about sound pretty nutty to me. And he's like, but you don't remember what they said? Nothing about doing something to people in Vault 32 or 33? And she's like, no. There was this exec, Bud's boss. Her name was Barbara Howard, and she was in charge of the Vault proposals. And he's like, do you know where her office is? So they must go up to her office. They go into this other office. He turns on a computer, and she kind of watches him like type away, and he's able to get in. Then she's like, you're not really Bud's successor, are you? And he's like, just still typing, and then he's like, how'd you know? And she's like, because you're not absolutely nuts. And he's like, thank you. And she's like, but the rest of them, they are nuts. I mean, they bet their whole lives on Bud Askins and this is weird multi-millennial plan. But then we see like Ronnie's like listening from the hall. He's like spying on them. She's like, if they realize that you took that from them, there's no telling what they'll do. And it's like, sorry, that came across as a little dramatic, but in my defense, I did just see the world end like a week ago. She's like, I could really use a drink. Do you want a drink? And Norm's like, I've actually never had one. And she's like, really? She's like, I'll be right back. So she leaves, and Ronnie like hid in the shadows, and she kind of like walks right past him, doesn't even see him. Norm's like searching. He searches for future enterprise ventures. Computer's like, no results. Related searches FEV. So he clicks on that. Scanning database. And it's like forced evolutionary virus. FEV is the gene altering agent for organism supercharging. Then the computer sparks. Ronnie like tore out the plug in the back. He starts like wrapping around his hand because he's obviously going to try to choke Norm with it. He's like, you lied to us. So Norm like sweeps some stuff off the desk at him, and he like grabs his like tall like floor lamp, and he like swings and misses, and then he's kind of like bent over, and Ronnie like wraps the cord around his throat, and they're like struggling. Norm is like, he's on the floor, he's like choking, and then he's out. It's like, wait, is he dead? But then Ronnie gets up, and there's like, so Norm he gasps on the floor, so he's still alive. In Vegas, Lucy's like out in the street. She takes a hit of the Addictol drug, and like nothing happens. But then she starts like vomiting in the middle of the street. It's like pretty bad. After a bit, she's able to stand up. She goes to the room where Ghoul is, and she's like, I think we can say I'm officially done with drug. And she almost like vomits again, and he's just like window So she runs to the window. She throws up some more. You hear someone outside is like, "Hey, watch it!" So she must have like almost threw up on someone. So then he goes to her, which is again really weird, and like softly he's like, "You done?" It's almost like he's concerned for her. So he like shuts the window. It's like, wait, is he being kind? She's like sits in his chair. She's like, "Thanks." He like sighs. He's like, "Least I can do, considering." And someone's like, and she's like, "Who's that?" And Ghoul's like, "I'll let him explain." So it's a snake oil salesman. The device is on his neck, but his hair is kind of like slicked back, and he's like wearing like a white short sleeve shirt and like a tie and khakis or something like that. And he's like, "Hi, I was sent here by your father. Mr. McLean is very impressed that you followed him this far, but he is quite secure in an underground facility. There's no reaching him from here, not without his explicit invitation." So Lucy's like, "Well, you're going to walk right back out there and lead us to my father now." He's like, "Unfortunately, I don't have permission." And the camera zooms in on his neck device. "Mr. McLean is watching over this gentleman's wife and daughter. They are quite peacefully resting in stasis. And wouldn't it be a shame if Mr. McLean had to terminate that slumber prematurely? They almost assuredly wouldn't survive the process." And Ghoul just like quietly stares at him. And she's like, "Don't listen to him. Whatever it is, we can't trust him." And the snake oil dude, he's like, "However, Mr. McLean is willing to make a deal. One family's safety for another. Mr. McLean will leave your wife and daughter safe and sound in their cryo chambers if you bring his daughter back to the safety of her vault." And she's like, "What?" Snake oil salesman, it's like, "Your father is in the process of setting certain plans in motion. He'd like it if you'd be able to, wait it out, safe and sound back home." And she's like, she like looks at Ghoul. Snake oil dude looks at Ghoul. He's like, "Do you accept?" And there's like silence. And then Lucy quietly says like, "You can't actually be considering this." He like looks at Snake Oil's dude, then at Lucy. He's like, "Lucy, I brought you here to bargain with." And it's almost like she gets hurt by that, and she tries to hide it. And he's like, "This is the bargain." And then she's just like, silent, she doesn't know she's speechless. Then softly, she's like, "We were actually beginning to get along." And he's like, "Yeah." He then draws his gun, he shoots her. But it's like a tranq dart. He like sighs. She starts like stumbling, and then she's down. So the dude's like, "Wonderful. I'll inform management that you made an agreeable decision." He like smiles. He's like, "Good afternoon." He leaves. Lucy, she yanks the tranq that was out of her chest, like, and throws it like on the floor. And she grunts and she tries attacking Ghoul, but then she goes down. So he pours a drink. He's like, "Take a nap. When you wake up, you'll be home." Like, couldn't be helped. Family's a fudged up thing. So he takes a drink. Then it cuts to Cooper pouring the flask, into his mouth in the past. He gets out of the elevator, grabs a drink from like a waiter with a tray. Then he grabs another, and I think like another. And he sees like some MPs like roughly escorting like someone out. And some guys like clap him on the back. One dude like raised the glass like as a toast to him. He just like grabs the glass and starts drinking, and you can tell the guy's like, "Hey." And then he sees the Robert House decoy at the bar. He just keeps walking by. And it cuts to Lucy struggling on the floor, and then cuts to back to in the past. A woman asks Cooper, she's like, "Can I have a kiss?" And she's like, he kisses her cheek. So she asks him, she's like, "You have to ride the missile." So it's like a mechanical bull type thing. So he gets on it, he stays on it as it starts like spinning around and stuff. And the president, Lucy, gets up, and she actually has the power fist thing on. And then she's like, "Chick, chick." She growls, and she punches Ghoul with it. He goes flying across the room and like through the window. And as she looks at, he's like falling out the window, and then he gets like impaled on a post on his way down. He's like, "Ugh." I mean, he's going to survive, but it's like, how's he going to get off that? And he exclaims and groans. She looks down at him. She's like, "I thought we were friends." And then she turns and she falls on the floor again. In the past, Cooper finally falls off the mechanical missile. You hear like cameras clicking, and then Barb is there, and she, kind of like helps him, whatever. Then back at the room, she has, his head's on her lap, and she's kind of like tending to him. He's like, "We need to talk." Then, in the present, footsteps approach. Lucy's on the floor. Her eyes kind of like flicker a little bit. Her vision's blurry, and we see her dad. We see Hank. He like kneels, so he puts his like hand on her cheek, and like with a smile, he's like, "My little sugar bomb." And she like looks at him, but then her head kind of like lolls back to the side. That's the end of the episode. So what does this mean? And it's weird that he's there, but Ghoul's like stuck in a pole now. And nothing about Maximus. So it's like, what's he up to? So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, it's weird because, Ghoul, he just wants to find his wife and daughter, but what's he going to do? Because, are they going to accept the fact that he is a ghoul now? He doesn't have a nose. So it's going to be interesting. And I would imagine he's not going to be happy with Hank, the fact that Hank was kind of using his family to, threatening them. So we'll have to see. And now it is time for Hijack. So we're, at least for now, we're probably going to be like a week behind, because as I record this, the second episode is out. And so as you listen to this, the second episode's out, and it's pretty soon, like in probably a few days, the third episode is going to be out. So we're going to be about like a week and a half behind almost. Maybe we'll catch up at some week, or sometime. But it makes my life a little easier, because then I can start watching it when maybe on a Monday or Tuesday. The episodes are out on Wednesdays, I believe. Apple usually drops them like the night before or whatever, after like 9 p.m. Or it's like weird how they do it. But this is the Idris Elba show. I forget when the last episodes were out, but if you are curious, if you're just like, hey, I need a recap on the last episodes or whatever, you should be able to go to entertainmentfish.com, and if you search Hijack, the past episodes will come up, and you can see like which episodes have the podcast, and then you can go back and listen to those if you want, if you need. So in the first season, Idris Elba was on a plane. I forgot where it's going from. It was like going to Heathrow, to London, and there's basically it got hijacked. There's a group of people, and they're kind of financed by this big kind of mob, whatever, gangster family. And what was neat about it is that is not quite like, it's sort of like 24, but not like as intense, where it kind of passes in real time. It was like a 6-hour flight, and so like it took six episodes to get from A to B type of thing. Idris Elba, what I like about it is he's not like Jack Bauer. He's not like a one-man fighting machine. They never really tell us what exactly he does, but he's basically kind of like a negotiator. That's kind of how his wife referred to him, that like when things go down, he's there to negotiate things. And he's also very he's very astute. He notices things like that happens, and he's quick. He thinks quickly, and he was pretty much able to take on these or deal with these negotiators, But the thing is, it's not like he's going to try to fight them or do anything like that. Start doing some kung fu moves on them or anything like that. So it's kind of interesting how it's a little different than like your typical, superhero, not superhero, but action hero type of thing. So with this episode, at the beginning, it's like, wait, how much time has passed since then? Because what's going on? Because he's acting a little distant when we first see him. So it's like, is there some sort of shell shock going on? So let's just jump into it. Because as I'm watching, I was like, okay, yeah, this is interesting. I was like, wait, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden, it's like, holy crap. So it starts off, so Idris Elba's Sam Nelson, he's like at the airport, and he's kind of just like walking around. I think he got off a flight, and at first I'm like, so it's like, wait, he didn't. This isn't like minutes after the last. I think some time obviously has passed. So there's this woman, Olivia, she calls him, gets his voicemail. So even though he's like walking around, maybe his phone's not on, or I don't know. But she asks if he's okay to meet with the man from the Federal Office of Justice. And she's like, I haven't heard from you since you landed. And, then we see her, she like enters the British embassy. So Sam, he's just like looking around, and he keeps looking up at the cameras, like the security cameras, like on the ceilings and stuff like that. And it's like, is he just overly cautious now? Is he kind of a little borderline paranoid? He goes to a vending machine. It was kind of weird. He gets like a drink, but then he throws in a trash can because they're like the U5, the next U5 is departing in 3 minutes or something like that. So the U5, I was like, what the heck is U5? So I think it's, and the other thing is like, where is he? I think he's in Berlin. And a U5 is just like a train line, like a sort of like a subway, underground train, whatever. Elsewhere, we see like some armed police. They get out of like some SUVs, and they go into this apartment. You see like the landlord or someone like unlocks the door, and they just like move them out of the way. They go in there. There's like loud music inside, and they look around. They're clear. So there's no one there. And you look at different things. I noticed like this big jug of like ammonia or something. It's like someone making drugs there, but it's probably something else. Now that I think about it, and one you're like, how come the early morning tip-offs are duds? And there's like a plainclothes, like a suit detective, because the other guys are kind of wearing like body armor and stuff like that. So this detective picks up like some device. He looks at something. He's like, actually the intel was good, but we weren't early enough. And they're like, so, where's the suspect? And a detective finds like some fake ID badges on the floor. And they're not like regular IDs. It's kind of like work IDs. So it's like, Then we see some dudes like working on the subway tracks. Their shift's over, but then there's this other guy with like a bag like walking in the opposite direction. And the lead guy's like, hey, you coming up with us? And the guy's like, I'm on a different shift. So then the first dude's like, let me see your ID. Because, if he's like in charge of his crew, he should know if there's another shift or something like that. And then he like shows him his ID, and it looks like it's the same type of ID that the detective found. So obviously it's a fake ID or fake like work badge. And the dude's like, okay, he's like, be safe. So then we see Sam, he's like waiting for his train. And when it gets there, it switches conductors. So this new guy gets on, and Sam's like watching him. So it's like, are we supposed to know? Is there something up with this dude? Like why? Or again, is Sam just being paranoid? So when he's on, this woman like recognizes him, and she's like, Sam. She's like, it's me, my mate Tan. And she's like, there's no way you'd remember me. Singapore. She's like, I was an intern on an Bank deal. And he seems very distracted. Like he's almost like borderline rude. He's like barely even like acknowledging her. He's just like looking at everything. And again, so it's like, is he on edge after the plane hijacking, whatever? And so she just keeps talking. She's like, I mostly did, coffee runs. And she's like, she remembered his coffee drink, whatever this. And he's like, oh yeah, I remember. And people are starting to get on the train, and he just like stands there. She's like, you're not coming? And he's like, I actually want to get on further down. And she kind of follows him. It's like, did he just want to get away from her, or is he trying to get away from like the crowd of people getting on? And so once he shuts his eyes, like once the train starts moving, and then it cuts to the intro. We get this like new intro, which is like I don't even remember the intro from the first season. Then we see like the workers exit the building, and there's something like that. They want to turn the power off, but they can't until everyone's like, I'm not sure what that was about. But then we see like people like covering different train lines. Like this is like the control center. This lady talks about like, I don't know if she's new or she says her first night shift or whatever. This other dude, he's like, oh, nothing ever exciting happens on the U5. So she's the one that's going to be keeping an eye on the plane the train that Sam Idris Elba is getting on. So the guy driving the train now, this new conductor that came on, he like looks at his watch. The lady in the control, she like calls him and says, because of snow, she's like, please reduce your speed to 25 kilometers per hour, max. And he's like, okay. He's like, understood. He radios the train. He's like, passengers, please be aware. We've been advised to reduce our speed. So today's journey may take longer than expected. At the British Embassy, that lady, Olivia, she tells this other lady, because she's like, oh, what do you got, scheduled for today? And so Olivia says she's got Sam Nelson to talk to. And the lady's like, that guy shunted down to you? He's been bugging us for a month. And she's like, well, he's in Berlin. And the lady's like, you invited him in? And Olivia's like, yeah, we're sitting down with someone from the Federal Office of Justice. And the lady's like, I thought I saw Arnold Goth in the lobby. She's like, good luck with that. So he must be like, we see this like old kind of like frumpy dude. So I don't know what that means. That lady on the train, May Tant, she asks Sam, she's like, what are you doing in Berlin? He's like, I'm just here for a meeting. And she's like, really? He's like, yeah. And she's like, the Commerzbank meeting, merger or something like that? She's like, you can't say client confidentiality. And there's this like pause in a conversation. Then she starts up again. And she's like, I don't mean to pry. I saw the piece in the FT, the Kingdom hijacking, the inquest. It's like, you've been through a lot. But she obviously can't tell that he doesn't want to talk to her. And she's like, hey, I get it. But it's like, do you? Do you really? She's like, I'd be a mess. I mean, I've never been through that, but, other stuff. And he keeps like looking away. He's like, look, and I'm like, wait, is he looking at a mother and an infant? Is there another guy by her? Because he's looking at the other train. And so she's like, she's been, other stuff. She's like, bad breakup. And she just continues on and it's just like droning on. And he's just totally tuning her out. And then we see like this countryside. There's almost like this woman walks up, you see like there's a tree stump, there's like an axe chopping up wood, and there's like, is there animals in a pen, like, or like, a ranch type of thing? Or so this lady walks up, she's holding flowers, she knocks, and she's like, Marcia Nelson? And so it's Sam's wife, ex-wife, we don't know, because she's like, Marcia Smith Nelson. And she's like, how did you... So like, wait, why is she out here in the middle of nowhere type of thing? So the lady's like, got sent these by mistakes, hands her the flowers. And she's like, he called it and made us walk all the way over here. So we see this like dude with a shotgun, kind of like, how like the hunters have the shotgun barrel just like draped over their arm, like when they're whatever, hunting fox, I don't know. And he's just like standing like a ways away. And so you can't really tell how old he is. He looked older, but I can't really tell. And so the lady's like, you staying a week? And Marsha's like, just a few days. And the lady's like, taste of the solitary life? It's lucky I found you. Or not. And Marsha's like, thanks for making a trip up. And she's like, oh, it's no bother. Is it your birthday or Valentine's? And she's like, no, it's an anniversary. And then she like shuts the door and like sets the flowers in the sink. So it's not clear what's going on here because... I'm trying to remember now, was she having an affair in the first season where they like separated, but they weren't divorced, I don't think. I think they were like on the way. So maybe, I don't know. Yeah, because I don't think they were together when he texted her when the plane was getting hijacked. But they had a kid. Yeah, so they're still like talking to each other and stuff like that. So why is she out there? And when this lady came up, I'm like, is this like, if we still have like this evil gangster or whatever, they're probably mad at Sam because he ruined her hijacking thing. So is she like hiding out from them? And I was thinking like, did they track her down? Are these flowers fake? Like they're not really sent to her. So we'll have to see about that. On a train, there's this dude. He has a backpack. He's talking to this other lady passenger, and he's like trying to, like, I don't know if he's trying to flirt with her because he tries asking her profession. He's like, let me guess. He's like, you're like a humanitarian or whatever like that. And she's like, yeah. She's like, I'm a volunteer medic. He's like, I knew it. And then he's like, oh, cool ink, by the way. And she like pulls her wrist away because she's holding onto a pole, and she kind of like shifts position, kind of moves around. And she's like, oh, it's just a reminder of my wayward youth. So like as I'm watching this little stuff, and this is the thing about a show like that. So it's like, okay, I mentioned the guy has a backpack. Does not matter. But it's like, who is this guy? And this lady, is there something up with her? Why? Because, based off the first season, it's like, you don't know who's in on what. So, she just, says that, it's a reminder of her wayward youth. And he's like, oh, that's sweet. And then this guy with a guitar starts like walking through, and you can see some passengers are annoyed, and he's got like a little cup taped to the end of his guitar for tips and stuff like that. That lady Mai Tai, she's still talking to Sam. Still, she's talking about the rent in Berlin, and he finally asks, where she's headed, and she's like, "Oh, I'm like 2 more stops," and he's probably like, "Thank goodness." And because he looks like he keeps like checking this dude in the next car. So I thought he was looking at this mother and infant, but there's this other dude with like a hoodie and a backpack, and he's like a foreign guy. He's brown skinned. Then because he comes into their train and he keeps walking towards back, and Sam starts like following him, and that lady May, she keeps like going, and she starts following him, and she's like, I probably shouldn't have told you the personal, stuff. I just wanted to talk to you. She's like, I could really use a break. Wondering if I can like pick your brain, and this is me leaning in, but if you ever have any openings, and he like cuts her off. He's like, just send me your resume, and she's like, amazing. She's clearly clueless, whatever, because he keeps moving. He doesn't even look at her when he says that. And, he keeps like moving away. And then she's like, wait, I don't have your email. It's like, no kidding. So then there's a couple of dudes we see on the street. They're taking like a bunch of like teens or something like that. They're talking about going to a museum or whatever. So they're going to go down to the trains. They're going to, they go down to the platform or whatever. At a stop, a hoodie guy gets off and he goes on his phone and he's speaking another language, and Sam kind of leans out the door. He's like watching him. It's like, can he hear him? Does he? What language does he speak? He probably speaks a lot of languages. Can he understand them? All the kids start getting on a train, but there's this one kid who's super nervous about getting on for some reason, and he like wanted to walk, but like one of the teacher dudes, he's like, no, come on, it'll be fine or whatever. And then hoodie guy. At first I was like, wait, is he getting on a different train? But then it's like last minute he like hops on. And what was weird, because like Sam like gets out and he jumps back on too. So at first I thought he jumped onto another train, but no. Because then you see there's still like the same people on the train and everything. So he gets close to the guy. So so Sam talks to the hoodie guy. He's like, you speak English, yeah? He's like, don't try anything stupid. And there's a couple of police there on the car, and I think they hear him talking, and Sam's like, hey mate, he's like, excuse me. He's like, you all right? He's like, I know what you're doing. You got something in your backpack, yeah? And the guy's like, fudge off. And Sam's like, something in a bag? And he's like, yes, fudge off. And Sam's like, what's in the bag? And he like reaches for it, and the guy's like, don't fudging touch me, man. And Sam's like, just relax. And so like other people are watching, and the officers come up, they're like, is there a problem? And Sam leads closer to him. He's like, you might just want to check this guy out. He's acting weird. And the officer's like the guy with the backpack? He's like, yeah, him with the backpack. So hoodie guy just moves to the next train. And then like the police follow, they're calling out to him, but he just keeps walking. And like one of the officers is like, hey, I'm talking to you. It's like, stop walking away. So he stops. He's like, why? He's like, I've done nothing wrong. And the officer's like, could you show us your ticket, please? And the guy's like, are you stopping me because I don't have a ticket? Or are you stopping me because I'm brown? And an officer's like, what's in your rucksack? And he's like, fudge you. And the officer's like, you need to calm down, yeah? He's like, we are very calm, so please tell us what's inside. I'm just trying to talk. And the hoodie dude's like, you're making a mistake, okay? And the officer's like, we are a bit concerned. And hoodie guy's like, I've done nothing wrong. Officer's like, sir, we just want to know what's in your bag. And hoodie guy is like, you don't need to know what's in my bag. Just leave me alone. So the train stops at the next station, whatever, and the officer's like, sir, please step off the train. He's like, I'm not getting off the train. Step off onto the platform. He's like, you've got this all wrong, okay? And the guy's like, just drop the bag. He's like, fudge you. And he like tries like charging them, but then he's outside, they like slam him against the train, and they tell him to stop resisting. People in the train are like, he didn't even do anything. And Sam's like watching. And the train like conductor, he can see that because like the train is kind of curved, so he can like see there's something going on. And then the doors close, and the guy ends up like on the floors, and the cops like point their guns at him, and the train starts leaving, like moving. So they tell him, drop the bag very slowly. So he opens his bag, empties it out, like, just like clothes and stuff like that. They pick up, his passport and his paper. So one guy's like, he's an asylum seeker. So they hand it back to him. And the other guy's, he yells, people's like, come on, get moving, whatever, because, there's a crowd of people watching. And then first officer, he like apologizes for the misunderstanding. There's nothing going on there. Idris Elba, he clearly overreacted. This guy got hassled for nothing and got kicked off the train. So you got to wait for the next one. Back on the train, there's a girl's like, he didn't even do anything. And her friend's like, oh, it's just the police totally racially profiling him. And the first girl looks at Sam and she's like, they're not the only ones. So the conductor, he calls control. He's like, I urgently need a code 700. And so the lady, she asked her coworker, Max, she's like, what's a code 700? And Max like, he needs the toilet. So she radios if he'd like her to warn the station manager at the next place, but he doesn't reply. And he puts the radio back in its slot. And she calls again. She's like, sir, did you hear me? Then we see the worker guy with the dodgy ID. He walks and he like ducks down this other track and he's heading towards the U5. There's like a sign for that. So, and he's not supposed to be there. So at the next station, conductor gets off to use the toilet. So he goes like an employee thing because there's, like it says like no entry or something like that. This other worker lady sees him like walking and she calls out to him and she's like, Otto, what are you doing? And the passengers see him walking too, including Sam. So the lady worker, sees Otto, he goes into like the bathroom, whatever. But inside he gets on his phone, he gets a recording. The person he's trying to reach is unavailable. So but I think he's actually trying to call dodgy ID worker guy because his phone's like hanging on his belt, but he can't hear it because of all the trains and stuff like that. And, because it lights up, but he doesn't even see that. And then he's like, pick up, Marco. And then he leaves a message. He's like, it's me. He's like, I can't do this. He's like, call me back. And, he starts cursing. The lady worker talks to the PA, says, the train will be held here for a few more minutes. Passengers can choose to disembark here to continue their journey. So the teacher dudes, they talk about getting off to, get on the next train. But then the one guy's like, well, it was hard enough to get Colin, the kid, onto this one. So, we should just wait a bit. Sam goes to talk to the worker lady. He's like, I saw the driver get off. Is everything okay? And she's like, he's good. He's like, no problem here. And Sam's like, he didn't look okay. He's like, when I saw him, maybe you can, I don't know, check on him. And he like smiles, try to be charming. And she's agrees. She goes, and he's like, thank you. And she's like, you're welcome. So then he stands there and he looks up at the security camera again. And at control, the night shift lady, the control, she doesn't see him because she's looking at this different screen. At the terminal, lady worker, she knocks on the bathroom door to check on Otto, the conductor, and he ignores her, and she like knocks again, and he's like almost crying. So he's supposed to do something, he doesn't want to. She like starts to enter the code to open the door, but then he opens her, and he's like, what? And she's like, is everything okay? And he's like, it's all good. He's like, just a 700. And she's like, I thought you'd been suspended. But he like keeps walking, and she's like, hey, can you talk to me? He's like, what's your problem? He's like, just leave me alone. And Sam's like watching this. So, obviously Sam's going to be suspicious, right? Because he notices everything. Otto gets back on a train. He gets on the radio. He's like, apologies, control. He's like, this is wagon 2600. He's like, ready to depart. So then he puts his face in his hand. He's like, oh my gosh. And Sam gets back on a train. At the embassy, Olivia's sitting talking to this Arnold Goth dude. She's like, Sam must have a good reason for being late. And the guy's like, look, I get it. You're new here. You want to make a good impression. But is this meeting really necessary? And if so, where exactly is Mr. Nelson? And she's like, Sam really wanted you to see this. She puts down a sheet of pics, like images, whatever. He's like, what am I looking at? And she's like, CCTV footage from Hamburg border control. And he's like, how did you get a hold of this? And she's like, just look at it. Sam thinks that this is the man he's after, the man responsible for the kingdom hijacking. So Sam must be obsessed with this case. Okay. The lady worker called, she said, control, I think we should replace the driver of wagon 2600. And the night shift lady, she's like, copy that, I'll pass it on. And the lady's like, maybe leave the boss out of it. Otto's in enough trouble as it is. He's not even supposed to be at work. Let's just say he's not feeling great. And control lady, she like kind of looks around. She's like, copy. So she calls Wagon 2600. I understand you're not well. We're preparing another driver to take over. And Otto's like, control, this is Wagon 2600. That's not necessary. I'm feeling a lot better. What's up? And she's like, it's all been arranged, Otto. He's like, yes, but she's like, you'll be relieved at the next station. And then to himself, he's like, poop. He's like, this can't be happening. The teacher dude tells the kids, their stop is coming up. Train starts slowing down. Otto sees the next driver, like at the gate there. His fingers like hover over like the open door button, but none of the doors are opening. The new driver, he like knocks to like open up the door so he can get into the conductor room. Then that door is not opening either. Sam like looks around, and then the new driver is banging. He's like, you're being replaced. And then the train, he starts moving the train forward, and people like waiting, they're annoyed because they're waiting to get on the train, but the door's never open. Control lady notices what happens. She calls, she's like, 2600, please come in. And she repeats, she's trying to get him to answer. The second teacher guy is like, oh, it's all good. It's like, we'll get off at the next stop. He's like, back to your seats. Dodgy ID worker guy, he's like on the tracks. He puts on goggles. He has this like little mini buzzsaw thing, starts cutting like this control box. The control lady, she says, you must stop at the next station. Otto ignores. And then she sees where, he's at on the map. She's like, driver, you've gone through a red signal. And then he like blows through the next terminal. And people are standing like really close to the edge of the platform. And like someone's holding something, gets like knocked out of her hand. And control asks Otto, it's like, please respond. Dodgy worker guy, he busts through, and he like turns this little lever thing, like an alarm goes off, whatever, and he starts turning this crank. So he's like manually switching tracks, like turning them off the main track to a side track. Sam's like walking around a car. Colin, the stressed out student, he like wants to get off the train. So he gets up, he goes like towards the door, and the teacher tries to get in front of him to stop him, to try to get him to go back to seat. But then Colin pulls like the emergency brakes thing, alarm goes off, and Otto's like, just piss off. He's talking to himself. And Colin's like, how come we haven't stopped? So Sam makes it to the front. He's outside the conductor booth, whatever. And he like knocks on the door. He's like, open the door. He's like starts pounding on it. Control tells Otto that he needs to stop the train. And she asks her coworker Max, she's like, what should I do? Dodgy ID worker guy, he's still like cranking, he's still turning the track. Then Sam, on his key ring, he has like a master key to open the door. And I'm like, wait, where did he get that? Does he have some sort of like master key thing? And it just happens to be like the same type of lock. It's like, that just seems kind of weird. So he goes in a room, he asks Otto, he's like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, you're going too fast. He's like, you have to slow down. And Sam keeps like yelling for him to slow down. And then they start kind of like fighting over the controls because, like Sam's trying to slow him down and Otto's trying to keep him going. We see Dodgy ID worker guy, he's still working on the tracks. He sees the train is coming. So he finally like gets out of the way just in time. The train like turns down this like closed off track, like busts through like a barricade, and then Sam like kind of slams like Otto against the wall. The train lurches a little bit, passengers scream because they're getting thrown about. Then at control, the train like disappears off the display screen. There's like the screen with like these lights showing all the different tracks, and you can see like the train like moving, and then their train is no longer on the map there. The train actually comes to a stop. So Sam asks Otto sitting on the floor, he's like, why were you driving so fast? And Otto's like, you don't understand. There's something going on. And Sam's like, I know. And Otto's like, I don't want to do this anymore. He tries leaving, but then Sam like closes the door. He forces Otto to sit. He's like, you can't leave. And he's like, but we have to get help. There were police on a train. And here it's like, wait a second. Because Sam's like, I know. I took care of the police. It's like, wait, what did you do? Because he got them to check on that guy, and it was like a false, alarm or whatever. And then Otto, he's like, wait, how did you get in here? And Sam's like, yo, Otto, right? And Otto's like, who are you? He's like, Otto, listen to me. I'm hijacking this train. And I'm like, what? And that's the end of the episode. So I have no idea what's going on. Why is he doing this? What is he up to? And yeah, no idea. So that's why he's so nervous. But it's like, why is he purposely looking into cameras? Like he wants people to know he's hijacking his train. And then they pulled off this other stuff, this like sidetrack that's like closed off. And it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, how long are these trains? Like, how long could you be like, driving around or whatever? And yeah, I have no idea. It's okay. So that's the first episode. At the beginning, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is fine. But now it's like, wait, what is happening? So definitely, I need to watch second episode as soon as possible. That's on Apple TV Plus or whatever they're calling it, Apple TV. Okay, it is time for the movie feature. The movie feature is Return to Silent Hill. So I was really excited for this. I may have mentioned this last week, but I played a little of the first game. I never finished it, and the reason I played it is because I remember, I think it was like PSM Magazine, the PlayStation Monthly. The official PlayStation magazine, the official Sony ones, where they would give you a demo disc every month. And I thought that was so cool because you got to play like a level or like you got to play a good portion of different games. So even if you didn't buy the games, you got to play a good portion of it. Or if you're something like, this is really cool, I want to buy this game when it comes out. So I remember the first time playing Silent Hill, and it always kind of makes me laugh. It's like, oh, this town is so spooky. There's all this fog and everything like that. We all know, I mean, it's no secret. The reason you had all this fog is so you didn't have the drawn distance. That's what it was called, right? I'm not totally wrong. But back in the old days, when you're walking and you're looking at the horizon, then all of a sudden, bloop, there's a tree. Then you keep walking, bloop, there's a mountain, bloop. There is a 100-story skyscraper or whatever, and 100 stories, is that whatever? That might be too much. Basically, it was like the limitations of the software and what you could do. So to avoid that is, let's make a world where we don't have to have this how far can you see out there? There's so much fog, it's so thick you can't see anything in front of you. It's just a bunch of white, and then stuff start popping in because you're getting close to them, because that's what happens when you go through the fog. So I thought that was really cool. And it's just, you go to this mysterious town, and then it's one of those puzzle games. We all love Resident Evil, so this is cool, because it was also Konami. So I was like, oh yeah, what's going on? And I remember from a demo, you go in this one room, and it's like you're kind of like locked in there. It's like, how can you get out? You need to find a key. You're looking all over stuff. There's a piano there. What are you gonna do? You had to friggin' play like the pianos in a certain sequence, and I don't remember, it's been so long, how you know the sequence of that. And I don't know if it was written somewhere, if there's notes somewhere, but you had to play it a certain way. And I think it unlocked something. I don't even remember if it was like in the piano, but then the key was in there and you can like exit. So it's just like stuff like that. It's really cool. And obviously, if you've seen any of the game, whatever, you got that Pyramid Head guy. It's like, what is his deal? You got the weird, the dark nurse. So I was excited. I mentioned I didn't watch the first movie when it came out. So the first movie came out in 2006. And the thing is, that movie and Return to Silent Hill were directed by Christoph Gans. The first movie, I didn't see it when it first came out for whatever reason. I ended up watching it. I feel like it was like 2018, 2019, whatever. It was streaming somewhere, and I watched it. And I was like, yeah, there's some neat things here. I don't really love the movie. Some of the acting was a little but it was fine, whatever. It was, it didn't blow me away, but it's like, it was what it was. And then with the movie coming out, I was like, oh, I should probably watch that again. Just to really, because, I when I saw the trailer for Return to Silent Hill, I was like, oh, this looks kind of creepy, kind of cool. And, just got that music. They always had such good music in the Silent Hill games, the Konami. They always, a lot of Japanese games, I just think like, Metal Gear and Resident Evil and Onimusha. It's like such great music. Tenchu. So I watched it. I was going to watch it again. I was like, oh, crap, it's not streaming anywhere. So I was like, okay, whoa, I can buy a Blu-ray off of Amazon and get sent here in 2 days. So I did that. And so I watched it again. And yeah, I still feel the same way. Not a great movie, but it was fine. So I'm like, okay, let's see what's going to happen next. I found out after I watched Return to Silent Hill, there was a second Silent Hill movie I totally missed. There was Silent Hill Revelation, which I believe was in 3D. That came out in October 2012. Totally missed that. No idea that came out. Somehow I missed it. Maybe I don't even know why. Somehow I totally missed it. Maybe I just blocked it off. I didn't see it. I forgot about it. So apparently that's not that great of a movie. But the thing is, Return to Silent Hill, I think they're saying it's like record low reviews or whatever, Rotten Tomato score. So let's see. Rotten Tomato, I'm going to look this up. Sorry. Silent Hill Revelation, because I'm curious about this. Actually, I should look up the other one. So Silent Hill oh my goodness. Silent Hill Revelation is 8% critics, 35% audience. If we look at the original Silent Hill 2006, this one, I'm writing this down so I don't forget this. So yeah, it's not Silent Hill. It's a 34% critics, 63% audience. So not great. The current Return to Silent Hill, I know I shouldn't be I don't normally jump into the rating part of it. When I first looked at it, the critics score was a 9%. I'm like, wow. And I didn't see this till after. I think before I saw the movie, I was trying to figure out, are there any end credit scenes? You know, I use this app, After Credits, that tells you if there's any credits. But when I went to see it, it was still early, so it was unknown. It was like it was just question mark. Because usually, if there's no credits, they'll have an X there. There's nothing. And if there is credits, like if you want, you can spoil it and find out. So I was like, okay, I don't know if there's credits. So I'm going to go I hate these articles. Is there, after credit scenes, whatever? And I couldn't find anything. But then I saw it's like record low, whatever, the worst movie of the franchise. I'm like, oh, crap. And then after I saw the score, I'm like, wow. I was like, okay, yeah. So it was at a 9% critics, 34% audience. Okay, so a little bit of difference. Just now I refreshed it, so it may change even more after this or this weekend. The 9% increased to a 16%. It went up, not much, but the audience went down. It went from a 34 to 29. We're talking, if we're looking at critics, the first one is a 34, 8%, 16%. It's going down. So yeah, I don't know if we're going to get any more Silent Hill movies. The audience went 63, 35, 29. So it's not great. Return to Silent Hill brings iconic horror franchise back to the screen. When James receives a mysterious letter from his lost love Mary, he is drawn to Silent Hill, a once familiar town now consumed by darkness. As he searches for her, James faces monstrous creatures and unravels a terrifying truth that will push him to the edge of his sanity. One of the things that bothered me a little bit is, okay, we got the same director. This town of Silent Hill is totally different. It's like a different Silent Hill altogether. Because the first one, it was like you had to take this bridge to get there, and there was this underground coal mine fire, which is causing ash to go all over the city. In Return to Silent Hill, you can see Silent Hill is like lakes or riverside town, which is like totally different than whatever, right? I saw someone said like the Silent Hill movies are kind of like Twilight Zone, they're different. So I think they're kind of looking at that word, because this isn't a direct sequel to, at least to the first one, even though it's the same director. So this is supposed to be based off the second game, which is not directly related to the first game, apparently. So yeah, you got these different things. And when I watched this, it's weird because the actors, who's the main actor? I don't know if I can find James. So Jeremy Irvine. Let's see. He was in War Horse, Great Expectations. What else was he in? Railway Man. But there's times when they would show him, when you'd see him on screen or like close up, it looked like he was CG. And it's like, wait, this is a live action. And a lot of times the way the people talked, the actors talked, they felt like video game voiceover actors, because I don't know how to describe it, but a lot of times like their tone, their inflection, whatever, they're kind of dramatic but not dramatic, because when you're doing voice acting, you have to you have to sell it with your voice. You're not doing that physical part. But I feel like it's just even like the tone, the way they I don't know. It's like, did they get the voice actors to act in this? So it just felt like that. And some of the dialogue was very stiff. And and that's, with the writing. But I feel like some of the delivery was, if the pacing of the way they were talking or speaking, it kind of felt like it was a video game cutscene. Just wait, you have to slow down a little bit or whatever. So I'm like, I felt like I was watching like a video game, a bunch of video game cutscenes. And with the story, as I'm watching this movie and going from scene to scene, at some points I'm like, after I watched this, I was like, did I fall asleep a bunch of times? Because yes, I have done that occasionally where I've nodded off for like a little bit. I'm like, whoa, and it's like, okay, sit up, and because I've mentioned my sleep, whatever issues. But it's like, I know I didn't fall asleep, but I'm watching it, I was like, what is happening to the story? And it's such a bizarre story, and I know it's supposed to be, but like one of the things, like when James first is in town and he first sees like the early, the I don't think are they the nurse, like the weird, because the nurses are in nurses uniform, but then there's these other ones where they're almost like they're armless or whatever. But he sees this, and he doesn't even really freak. He just sits there and like looks at one like down the street coming, and there's like, he's not like freaking out. And then there's things where you see this and it's like, oh no, it's a flashback. Oh no, wait, was this a dream? Is this happening? Is this in his mind? And then like what happens at the very end, maybe I missed something. Maybe I did fall asleep. But I'm like, oh wait, okay, we're doing this. Okay, this is cool. I see what we're doing with this. How is this happening? Why is this happening? And then there's just some weird things where, so basically the story is, this guy James is driving. He ends up meeting this woman, Mary, stuff like that. And then he goes to town, goes down, takes her to Silent Hill. And then he ends up, falling in love with her. He lives there for a while, but then other stuff happens, and then he's like, I gotta leave. I can't handle this. He becomes like an alcoholic and everything like that. And then he gets a letter from Mary saying, I need you to come back. So he drops everything and he goes back. And, that may not be the best for him, but then things start happening, and it's just like, what is going on? And what does this mean? And is this really happening or not? And part of it, as creepy as like I thought the trailer was, the movie really wasn't. There wasn't really no creepiness, and that's what you want in a movie like this. So I was disappointed, and I don't know. I mean, this is a movie where it's like, part of me is like, man, I kind of feel like I need to watch it again, but then the other part's like, no, I'm done. And the thing that I was like so excited for this, so I haven't, I probably mentioned how I do like digital. I use Procreate. I draw on there, and I just it's like a relief. It's relaxing, but then it kind of got to be too much, because I was like, okay, I need to draw one per week. I need to finish. And I was like, I don't have time to do it, because I can't, I don't want to rush through it, and then it's going to be, not as good as it could be. Also, stupidly, because I would post them like on my TikTok and Instagram. And when I post the art, they don't do as well as if I post some other dumb TikTok or whatever, or if I do like a steelbook TikTok. So that's a little discouraging. It's like, oh, so I guess my art's not that great, and a lot of times, your own risk. Anyways, so what I actually I've started. I have like 4 art pieces that I've started and I just haven't finished. And I keep wanting, it's like, oh, maybe I want to do this. And I just don't have time to finish. I would love to, but I don't, because I spend all my time trying to read comics and watch everything, whatever. But then I did actually finish one. I drew one of those dark nurses. And now it's like, I haven't posted, as I record this, I mean, maybe I'll post it. But it's like, I don't even know if I should bother posting it, because no one's going to know what it's from. No one's going to care what it's from. I mean, some people will, but yeah, I'm disappointed. Is basically what I'm getting at. Woof. Buzz, your girlfriend, woof. Silent Hill, your movie, woof. I did see in the Rotten Tomatoes, some people were like, it was great. Fans are gonna, whatever, like it. It's a little different from the game, but alternate universe, and yeah. So maybe if you played the game, I didn't play Silent Hill 2. Maybe that would make it a little better, but yeah. So for me personally, not my thing. I saw someone's like, 2026 finally has its first officially bad movie, and yeah, but Mercy didn't do so great either. So I think that's it. I mean, there's some kind of cool moments, but it felt very CG, and some of the CG felt a little off. I don't know. I mean, the budget, what was the budget of this thing? 20 to 23 million. So that's not a lot. I don't know how much it's going to make this weekend. I can't see it making that much. And, the thing is, like, my theater, I don't even know. Let's see, do they have any showings? It was so weird that they didn't. And sometimes, they may not get it in time. But, yeah, it looks like, yeah, they didn't get it. So maybe they're like, yeah, no thanks. So I think that's going to be it for this week. So that is it. See Return to Silent Hill if you're a fan or not. Or maybe don't see it if you're a fan, because you're disappointed. But thank you for listening. Big thanks to Andrew Loken. He is a big supporter of the show. You can be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30-ish minutes of podcast entertainment every single week. I'm currently doing Silver Age DC comic books with like the weird and wacky covers. And I've done Superboy, I've done Batman Detective Comics. And I'm probably going to do like one of Jimmy Olsen, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen weird covers. And sometimes do the Off My Mind topics, which I'll probably do one soon. But if you can't commit to a monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck, and you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or 2. And that's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. What are we going to get next week? Next week's movie is going to be Send Help. So that's Rachel McAdams. And I don't know who the dude is in this. He's someone. Let's see, Dylan O'Brien. I should have known that. And it's a Sam Raimi movie. So I'm really excited about that. So we'll see how that goes. It basically, Dylan O'Brien is like the boss, and Rachel McAdams, she's about to get fired, and he's like, well, you have the merger coming up to kind of prove yourself. They get in a plane crash. They're stranded on a desert, or like it's deserted island, this little tropical island, and things get kind of savage. She kind of turns things around, and so I'm really curious to see what Sam Raimi's going to do with this. So we have that. We will also have another episode of Hijack. I'm really curious, excited to watch the second episode, because again, I'm behind. We'll have more Fallout. I'm digging the character development there, and we should have Wonder Man, right? We'll see how we're gonna do. maybe just one episode. I think the first episode is kind of short, people complained about. So we'll see if maybe I can squeeze in 1 and 2. They're all going to drop, but obviously I'm not going to cover them all. So that's going to be annoying for me to have to deal with. But that is going to be it. This is going to be a busy week for me because I have a class on Wednesday, and I think I got some crazy things happening at school, and yeah, so we'll see. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you are doing well. I hope you have a less crazy week coming up. I hope you're taking care of yourself, and I hope you remember, be good to each other.